Yo, what's up? I go by Cyrus. This is Middle MAGA. And I think some of y'all are finding out why it is called Middle MAGA. And my beliefs do not change based on other people or personalities or politicians. My morals don't change for anyone. And I'm always tied into the best idea, though. So I'm open to change. But my morals are a foundation. So I don't give a damn about AOC. I don't give a damn about a Rashida Tlaib. I don't give a damn about these politicians. I don't care. I don't know them. So I'm not tied to any of them. I, I don't know. It seems like some people are, and that's fine, but that's just not me. And I've never had problems with Ron DeSantis. If you watch the channel, I actually praised Ron DeSantis multiple times going into this election. I I don't care about a Ron DeSantis. I've criticized Trump. I said I'm not voting for Trump. I'm all over the place, and it's life is not simple, and that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today with this proclamation from Ron DeSantis. They actually passed a bill, and it's a simple thing, but it's very representative of a problem. And I always knew this time would come. I didn't think it would come this soon, but I knew this time would come where my beliefs would separate from what you would call the populist right or MAGA, and we just have fundamental differences. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, and then I'm just gonna talk about the letter, not read it yet, and then go into why I constructed my own definition for woke. And it my definition for woke does not care if somebody is left or right. It's completely separate from that. So I'm going to go bring that up. Hopefully everybody's having a good Tuesday. Well, it's even here it's coming up on midnight, and hopefully everybody's going into Wednesday feeling good. I got just one topic. It's just going to be on this DeSantis. DeSantis did this letter, and I'll just stick with commenting on the letter because that's where the problems arise. Actually, is from the statement from the government. I have a problem, and again, we're going to the First Amendment here. So it's a basic. I mean, this is fundamental principles of the country. Number one fundamental principle of the country type stuff here. So if we can't get this, then obviously everything else just crumbles underneath it. If we can't get the first one right, we can't agree on it, the interpretation of it, then we don't have much as far as rights go. And I'm just going to touch on this, and I will read the whole thing later, but I just want to touch on it now, then get to my definition of woke so you know what prompted this live. If you found the channel, however you found the channel, appreciate you. So I actually saw this from a retweet of Will Chamberlain. Do I even follow Ron DeSantis? I just don't even know if I might not even follow. Yeah, I do follow. I just didn't see it. I just follow so many people, I can't see everything. So Will Chamberlain tweeted this. I guess Will supports this. Not surprising to me. But in Florida, Ron DeSantis says, we declared November 7th as Victims of Communism Day and require students to be taught on how victims suffered under communist regimes. Okay. It is important for it is important, there might be a typo here. It is important for, I'll get to the letter here. I think it's just saying it's important for our students to learn about the deadly outcomes of this dangerous ideology. Really? From the governor? Okay. And then you'll go into the letter and he'll talk about Florida's home, as this is true to a lot of refugees who have escaped from or left, or their ancestors, recent ancestors, fled countries controlled by communist regimes in Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and others. So he's writing that letter with that in mind. He does a little bit of history. He talks about Marxism, socialism, and communism. I would like to do. I didn't get a chance to do more research to find out, have we ever seen a statement like this from a governor? Ever? A similar statement. I'm sure there's got to be something close, but I don't know. A statement from the governor proclaiming Marxism, just generally, Marxism, socialism, and communism as the same ideology. And it goes on later to establish that high school classes, I mean, it poses it and says it right here. And then it says students of all ages to learn about the dangers posed by socialism. This is a statement from the governor of the state of Florida. And they passed this bill, this law, HB 395. So I'm going to go to my definition of woke, and it's very simple. My definition of woke is allowing an authority outside of God to define your morality. So when I look at this, what's happening here with Ron DeSantis himself is irrelevant to my take on this. I think people, I've heard even Barton Bella and others say that I hate Ron DeSantis. I don't even know how to respond to that. I don't know that, bro. If he has a great idea, then I think it's a great idea. I'm more of an ideas guy than a like or hate somebody guy. And so I think a lot of people on the right, or just for a lack of a better term, I don't even know how to call people anything anymore. Neo, what's up? Appreciate you. Yo, Boogie Bozo, big brain DeSantis is trying to combat communism with socialism. Spoiler alert, they're both Marxist. The show's over, everybody. You're going to hear me go on for, it's going to be a short stream. So when the streamer says it's going to be a short stream, 4 hours later, you're going to hear me repeat Boogie Bozo's statement over and over and over in just various ways. Spoiler alert. I appreciate you ruining the show, Boogie. No, I'm just playing. Thank you. Appreciate you. And I never get on here. You will never, ever find a clip of me getting behind a mic and telling someone else what to think. That won't happen. You're not going to find that. Ever. I'm raising 2 young boys. I am never, ever telling them, as far as philosophy, opinion, what to think. That ain't happening. And so I won't do that on that live. I express my opinions and we have a discussion and we go from there. And that's the beauty of it, is to have the discussion. Sometimes we come to the same conclusion, sometimes we don't. And for me, it's not even the conclusion, it's how you got there that matters to me. That the path you took to get there is what matters. Can you defend your position is what matters. That's why I was on the live with Stephen Ignoramus. We're doing the monthly Rumble. And we, again, the topic of Israel and Jewish, and I'm not knowledgeable on the religion of Judaism. You don't see me dabbling into calling Jewish people this or that. I'm just not knowledgeable enough on that. I don't dabble into stuff I don't feel confident in. I am confident in talking about the Israeli government. So those are 2 separate things. It's just hot in the news right now, just to give that background there. But I absorb the information from Carlos, friend of the show, Prime Animations, from Ray Studios, friend of the show, from Stephen Ignoramus, from everybody in the chat. And then maybe I will be able to come out at one point, come out the closet with my comment on Judaism. I don't know if that will happen or not. I'm not even, I proclaim to be Christian, but I'm not even versed in that. So it would be quite some time. And I'm not getting paid off of this. So it's not like I'm doing research all day on this. This is separate from the family stuff. But I do have enough knowledge to say what's happening here with Ron DeSantis has now become a pattern of First Amendment, clear, blatant First Amendment rights violations. And I'm not down with it. I'm not for it. This is the woke right. And I think a lot of people in the more libertarian space have been saying this is what's going to happen. And that's the concern I had too, is that if one side says we have to force pronouns on people, that's part of this whole thing. If one side says we have to force pronouns on people, and then on top of that, I defended very strongly the Ron DeSantis Parental Rights and Education Act. I broke that down on the channel, defended it 100%. It was not authoritarian and by any measure. It was very soft, actually, basically saying you can still, a teacher in the classroom, for example, can still have a picture of their partner or whatever being gay. You just can't teach kids that gay is good. You just can't do that. And so he got all that pushback from it. And what I saw coming, didn't know when, but what I saw coming is it's I guess you call it the rubber band effect. You go authoritarian from, for the lack of a better term, the left. Then Ron DeSantis does a perfectly a really soft bill, because it wasn't against gay. It was either way. You couldn't teach kids that heterosexual relationships were good. It didn't even have homosexual in it. It was just in general. And he does that soft bill and gets completely annihilated for it. So if you do that, then why wouldn't you just go full authoritarian when you've got the state house, the state senate, and you're the boss man in Florida? I'm going to be treated as authoritarian anyway. Damn it, you're going to get this authoritarian boot in your ass. If you want to see authoritarian, that is one of the most dangerous things you can do, is when somebody's very moderate in their approach and then treat them like the worst thing in the world. I mean, the left treated him like he was Satan. I mean, they were in the award shows saying, don't say you gay, 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 gay. And what all that was about was just attacking Ron DeSantis and just making him look like the worst person in the world. I defended him at that point. I mean, that's not relevant to this, but it's just weird for people to talk about like how I don't like this dude. I don't know that dude. It ain't got nothing to do with me liking or not liking this dude wearing heels in his boots. That's just a joke. I'm not. But so that they demonized him over a soft bill. So if I demonize somebody over them doing something soft, there's nowhere else to go. You've already demonized them. Well, I'm going to go full authoritarian. I'm going to go full blown, because not only did you demonize him when he was soft, you've been full authoritarian yourself as much as you can. If the Democrat Party, those bootlicking, fire alarm pulling, vote rigging party, if they had Senate, House, and President in a big enough majority, then I would probably be in a gulag right now. Not even lying. Just straight up next to a J6er, we'd be in our orange jumpsuit singing the Star Spangled Banner. Oh, say, can you see? And somebody be on drums, I'd be beatboxing if they had it. So that's where they are. He does a soft bill, and other politicians do soft bills. They get treated like they basically call the dude Hitler over a soft bill. Then he's going to be like, okay, I can put on a mustache too, and we'll do that. And then what happens after this now is that people who have felt that boot from the left see what the left would do. They say, I want my authoritarianism to come from him. And then what that feeds is a feedback loop where people say, well, they know deep in their heart that this is wrong, but then they won't say that because they agree with it. And then they'll say, go DeSantis, go DeSantis, go, like some rap song in the 90s. Go DeSantis, go DeSantis, go. And then DeSantis can be like, I'm going to be more authoritarian. And it's just a feedback loop of and then the other side gets worse. And so we're going to have that clash where we can't coexist anymore. That's what's going to happen. But let's get back to this bill specifically. And then he does the book. They call it the book ban. And we just talked about that because I came up on with this, what was his name? Stephen Marsh clip where he had a wild interaction on the culture war. And it's not a book ban. It's curating books that are appropriate for kids. My kid goes to his kid library all the time, brings a book. The books in that library better be appropriate. So, but that's not a book ban. It's a soft thing. It's common sense. You don't want a Hustler mag. Do they even do Hustler anymore? What's the other, Playboy? You don't want a Playboy Hustler magazine in a kid's library, right? I mean, I think that's not what we as a society want, but there is no objective good or bad. And then we're going to get into that with this. But as I said, that my take is you can be woke on either side. And what are you allowing to set your moralities, your moral foundation? I don't know. Some people are setting their moral foundation as retribution. That's not going to be a good place to be. As revenge, that's not going to be a good place to be. As supporting a person, whether it's Trump or DeSantis or Dave Smith or anybody, that if you allow that person to set your moral foundation, that ain't a good place to be. And we are now seeing the rise of the woke right. Let me read. Hey, Buddha Cafe. Hello, both genders. Tone Docs. I haven't seen Tone Docs in a minute. Everybody coming out the woodworks. Matthew Butts, what's up? Matthew Butts says the mistake of the right and the left is that they both use the monopoly of violence that the state has when in power against whoever loses in our winner-takes-all style elections. I guess I just need to drop the mic today, man, and just put the comments up. Man, we coming in with just eloquent comments, man. I need ChatGPT to say something that eloquent. You're going to hear anything that eloquent come straight out my mouth, man. You're going to hear it clumsy, but well said, Mr. Butts. Appreciate you. Boogie Boo. Well, let me read this. I gave up on Ron DeSantis when he refused to support Trump after Trump helped him win his election. Okay, that's a different topic, but I have talked about that. And it shows a lack of character. I mean, it just shows a lack of gratitude, morals. I'm sorry. Even if you don't think Trump helped you, a lot of Trump supporters backed you. And Trump did send his son and other surrogates to help Ron DeSantis after the primary in 2018. And you don't have any gratitude, even if you don't think you needed them, you don't have any gratitude to, at least to the people. That's a lack of morals. And the same thing with the shoe thing. He's clearly lying about the shoe thing. It shouldn't be a big deal. You should laugh it off, tell the truth, and you be fine. But instead you say you're 5'11", but your face tells me that you're not 5'11". You're probably 5'9", 5'10", or something like that. You don't need to. Why do you need to lie about something like that? Your shoes, if your shoes don't have lifts in them, then take your shoes off on the show with Patrick Bet David and say, look, you bitch ass niggas, I don't have any lifts in here. But if your shoes do have lifts in them, then you can take off your shoes and say, look, okay, y'all got me. If it's going to be Bootgate, we're going to come out and do it on the Patrick. You can have some type of integrity, bruh. That's the problem with it. That's the problem with you. That's off of this a little bit. But this bill is a lack of integrity. It is a clear lack of integrity, a lack of American principles. It's ironic. It's very ironic to see this. So let's go and read the bill. Let's take a look at this in detail. Let me read it here. I have it up. This is not the bill. This is the statement from Ron DeSantis after they passed its HB 39, I believe, or HB 395. So I'm going to have ChatGPT tell me about HB 395. I'm just going to pull that up while I read the bill. All right. So this statement from Ron DeSantis, and he sums up the bill, but second annual Victims of Communism Day in Florida. And is this the second? I didn't know about the first one. So, whereas as a state, Florida is home to the most refugees who have escaped from or whose recent ancestors fled countries controlled by communist regimes in Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, amongst others in our Western Hemisphere. And whereas in the century since the first communist regime was formed by the Bolsheviks, when the Russian Empire became the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the Soviet Union and the communist regimes that it propagated around the world have killed more than 100 million people and condemned and imprisoned millions more to brutal repression and subjugation. And whereas Marxism, socialism, and communism are three terms for the same ideology, an ideology under the illusion that government can be a universal provider. Yet history has shown that this failed belief system brings nothing but the equal distribution of misery and poverty. And whereas communism is the antithesis to the principles of liberty, prosperity, and the dignity of each individual human life, which form the bedrock of our nation's republic, its free enterprise economy, and its vibrant religious traditions and civil society. And whereas at a time when communism is widespread and actively promoted by liberal politicians, college professors, and pop culture figures in our own country, it is more important now than ever to teach Florida's school children about the horrific history of communist countries and to hear from individuals who suffered firsthand under the shackles of communist dictators. And whereas Governor DeSantis has recognized and honored individuals who fought against communism and repression, including Felix Rodriguez, renowned freedom fighter during the Bay of Pigs invasion, and whereas Governor DeSantis launched an initiative to record video testimonials of Floridians who suffered under these tyrannical regimes and encourages all Floridians to watch these harrowing accounts of life under this evil ideology. And whereas Governor DeSantis committed $25 million to the Freedom Tower and $2.6 million to the Bay of Pigs Museum in the 2022-2023 budget to ensure Floridians can experience the state's history of combating communism and helping those who fled communist regimes. And whereas Governor DeSantis signed HB 7012 that prohibited foreign funds for CCP-affiliated groups such as Confucius Institutes on state campuses, and whereas Governor DeSantis signed into law HB 395, which establishes November 7 as Victims of Communism Day and requires high school students in the United States government classes to receive instruction on that day on topics such as Mao Zedong and the Cultural Revolution, Daniel Ortega and the Sandinista movement, Joseph Stalin and the Soviet system, Fidel Castro and the Cuban Revolution, Vladimir Lenin and the Russian Revolution, Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, and Nicolas Maduro and the Chavismo movement, and how victims suffered under these regimes through poverty, imprisonment, starvation, migration, systemic lethal violence, and suppression of speech. Whereas Victims of Communism Day is an opportunity for students in all ages and Floridians of all backgrounds to learn about the dangers posed by socialism around the world and here at home, as well to reflect on the blessings of liberty afforded to us and our posterity as a result of the American traditions of limited government and individual freedom. Now, therefore, I, Ron DeSantis, Governor of the State of Florida, do hereby declare November 7th, 2023, the second annual Victims of Communism Day in Florida. And it's a weird ending where he says the posterity as a result of American traditions of limited government. Nothing says limited government like the government telling you a specific societal structure is evil. That's not limited government, everybody. That's just not it. A limited government stays out the way and says, you decide what structure of government is evil or not. Because we're not dealing with 100% good or 100% bad here. And I'm going to go through the First Amendment issues that I have. So just to be clear, if you're just joining, I am very strongly against this letter, this day. What you can do very simple, in a very simple manner to see why I would have a problem with it, is just replace communist with capitalist. And you see the problem very quickly. You could do the exact same letter and switch communism with victims of capitalist day. So California could do their second annual Victims of Capitalist Day in California. We are home to the most, well, they are home to victims of if you want to call homeless people that, that's funny. But no, they could also say, they could say slavery, they could go to, or the horrors, they could say the military-industrial complex. California would never say this, but somebody could say the military-industrial complex of the United States, just in Iraq alone, has attributed to 4 million deaths, and then dropped the bombs, in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and then add up all the different skirmishes and wars and all the innocent people we've killed. And they could say, this is second annual Victims of America Day in Detroit, Michigan, where America is the worst country ever. And the founding father, here's the second annual. They took the statue of Thomas Jefferson out of the city hall in New York City. They could say, this is the second annual Thomas Jefferson was a racist day. The government saying that, if you have that opinion, that's fine. But the governor of the state laying down that opinion, that presents a layer of complications that cannot be ignored. Let's go through and actually look at the First Amendment. I think I need a refresher on the First Amendment. Let's look at this. And of course, anybody correct me where you see anything wrong. I kind of went through the First Amendment to how we got there, because the First Amendment's actually really small and simple. And if you just look at it, then you're kind of like, okay, maybe it doesn't apply here. The First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So it says Congress shall make no law. It doesn't say anything about a state governor. So then we have the 14th Amendment. So it goes through it here. Originally, the First Amendment applied only to the federal government. However, through the process of incorporation, most of the protections of the Bill of Rights have been extended to the states. Because it doesn't make any sense. The Constitution won't have any power if you can go to the state and the state can just do whatever they want. What's the point of it then? So then the 14th Amendment, which is a problematic amendment, but I don't want to digress now because that's where they're going at Trump now. It's very vague, and a lot of these battles are coming down to the 14th Amendment. Even the naturalized citizen, a lot of it is packed into that amendment. But we could amend the amendment. We can change all this stuff. We just don't have a society that shares enough in common to do any type of constitution, much less an amendment to one. So this means that the First Amendment applies to state governments, including state legislators, city councils, and other local government entities. The Supreme Court of the United States has interpreted the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment as incorporating the rights set out in the First Amendment and making them applicable to the states. Therefore, state governments, like federal governments, are prohibited from enacting laws that would violate the rights to freedom of speech and what we talked about, press, assembly, religion, petition, as protected under the First Amendment. Okay, then what about a governor executive order? Because you said law, that's not really law. But they did pass this bill that is HB 395. But let's just look at executive orders. That's come up a lot. Governor executive orders at the state level are also subject to the constraints of the First Amendment. If those weren't subject to the constraints of the First Amendment, then everything they wanted to do to violate the First or the Bill of Rights would just be done through state governors. So it's just common sense that it has to be flow down through to everybody. So I think we've established, hopefully, there's no disagreement that the First Amendment applies to this law in Florida. It applies to any governor edicts in Florida, and it applies to governor speech in Florida. So the governor of Florida put a bunch of opinions in his edict. It is a violation of the First Amendment, a clear violation. And that is an impeachable offense. Will that happen? No. I mean, it's just not going to happen. That's separate from, is it an impeachable offense? Absolutely. If I had one vote and I would say, and I was the only one voting and I lived in Florida, would I impeach or not? It would be an absolute yes for me. And this isn't even the only one, but just on this bill, just on this bill and this letter, just on this letter alone, I would say you need to get the hell up out of here. You need to make sure, we need to make sure, if we want to have a functioning society, this is my opinion, that we need to make sure that the people who are running society don't get anywhere near that First Amendment. You need to stay away from it. You need to be scared to touch it. Basically, First Amendment, Second Amendment, all Bill of Rights. So, but let's just talk about the first two, up in the news a lot. And those, they're very easy to tell when somebody's trying to infringe on those. Do not touch, don't even come close to them. That's why we have the Second Amendment problems we have. I'm still grateful for the Second Amendment, but we have a lot of restrictions on it that aren't anywhere to be found. It's a very simple amendment, should be applied to everywhere, but we're not doing it. And the stuff that's happening to the Second Amendment is now happening to the First Amendment in ways I haven't seen before. Here's the concerns. I just said, hey, give me some of these concerns because I need bullet point talking points and I might agree or disagree with some of these. This is using ChatGPT if you're not familiar. And let's go through and see what might be a concern. Freedom of speech and academic freedom. Well, he had a statement on there and said, Marxism, socialism, and communism are the same ideology. Now, I understand what he means. I've conflated communism and socialism. I've tried to do a little bit of work. It's hard to even distinguish the two. You can even say communism is accelerated or late stage socialism. But then he also conflates Marxism in there, and that's just completely, I'm not going to really fight with someone if they say they're the same ideology, but that's an opinion. That's not a fact. And why would the governor be saying that? You could say, I was chatting with somebody who said capitalism is sin. They literally said that. Why couldn't a governor say capitalism is bad? Here's why. Would you want a governor saying that conflating capitalism with evil? No, people are evil. These systems, it's an opinion whether you like these systems or not. There's bad people that exist in all these systems. I said on the other way, of course, nobody has a problem when these leftists say, well, I think socialism will be better or communism will be better. And I say, well, you don't think Nancy Pelosi is going to be rich and stay rich? Nancy and Paul Pelosi are going to be rich and stay rich under communism and socialism? You don't think they're going to fight to control that? The system isn't going to change the corruption of the people. And if we don't hold them accountable in either scenario, then they're still going to be fat cats. They'll just be even more dictators. Nobody has a problem when I say it that way, but it also goes the other way. You want to talk about Lenin, you want to talk about Pol Pot, you want to talk about any Mao Zedong, you want to talk about anybody, they could be bad in a capitalist system. So it's hard to separate what percentage of the failure of communism is corrupt power or the system? Is it 50-50? Is it 60-40? That's all opinion. You can't be putting opinion as edict from the governor. It just can't be happening. What it does is it chills free speech. So you look at it, he encourages all Floridians to watch these accounts of these videos, mandating educational, well, he's encouraging, but what he's basically doing is, I'm wondering if I'm a organization, a college, or I can have the opinion that I disagree with Ron DeSantis on these things. Am I going to get a fair shake if I openly say I disagree? The same type of problems with his governor edict against the colleges, labeling people as terrorists, petitioning the government. There's no direct mention of it in there, but the tone could chill free speech, deterring individuals from voicing concerns or objections. Anybody, not just people who work for the government of Florida, who should have free speech. So if I say I'm a pro-communist, I chat with people who are, they fly the hammer and sickle, and I've talked about them, and I say, I understand why it's off-putting, but you got to talk to them about what it means, and maybe I should go bring some of them on, if I can, and talk with them so you can see, you might disagree with them, but, even one of them, Rome Bethea, I did a video on that a while back. I said he's a patriot. He just has a different way of showing love for his fellow citizen. But he has the hammer and sickle out of love. He's in the streets of Detroit, giving people free haircuts and talking with them, talking to people he disagrees with, dapping up, all love, straight peace, building up a library in his community, and he flies the old Soviet Union hammer and sickle. So you can't judge a book by its cover. It'd be the same thing as somebody judging MAGA by the cover. And that's just not a way to live. And that's what he's doing here. He's basically saying, if you consider yourself a socialist, there's a lot of people that consider themselves socialists, a lot of them. You know why? Because we bailed out the big banks. So you see how complicated this is? Ron DeSantis is really demonizing people who got chased to socialism because we did socialism in our country. Are you going to teach that too? The banks failed in 2008. Obama came in. Congress, Obama bailed off the big banks. People had to get foreclosed on their homes because the market crashed. They didn't get bought out. They didn't get bailed out. The big banks got bailed out. We kept the interest rates low, kept printing money from the Federal Reserve. And a lot of people saw this, and they saw their parents lose homes, and they voted for Obama. They thought they did everything right, and they said, F you, we don't like Republicans. There was no populist movement at that time. We don't, not like MAG or anything like that. So they said, we want to go to Bernie Sanders now. So what did they do? They rigged the Democratic Party. This is through court system. This is objective. Pretty much, if you go through and look at the courts, all the people on the left taught me about this. They rigged it. Well, I knew some of it, but they rigged the primary against Bernie, and you see Bernie folded. They gave Bernie book deals, and Bernie got a new home, and Clinton was the propped up. And they went more socialist because they're like, we went to Bernie and you took Bernie out. And now we want to go more socialist. So Ron DeSantis is demonizing fellow citizens. This is exactly the same as the Red Sermon speech from Joe Biden. It's the exact same thing. Demonizing fellow citizens who might, in their mind, align with Marxism, align with Lenin, might align with even Stalin, believe it or not, align with communism, socialism, or some mix of it. Or even what if I, and I truly do believe in a mixed economy. So it's a very complicated thing. If you don't believe in socialism, Ron DeSantis, then why are we bailing out the agriculture, ag? We do all kinds of social welfare for corporations. Do you want to get into that discussion? Are we teaching the children about all that too? This is too complicated to give you a definitive good or bad. Unchecked capitalism would result in totalitarianism via companies, direct companies. So what would happen is you would have all the defense contractors if you had no government involvement to check. Any government involvement to put checks and balances on companies is socialism. Is a dab of socialism. You're taking an eye drop of socialism and dropping it into your free market system. We don't have a complete free market system. Obviously, we know that. If it's a complete free market system, how are lawmakers and their families allowed to trade stock, Mr. DeSantis? Is that a part of this too? That's not free markets. And so everywhere you look, you see corruption. It's definitely not a free market. And if you had no government involvement, which means no socialism, then it would be unchecked monopolies is what would happen. If you look at any business created, the ultimate goal of the business is to increase revenue. So if you have a business and your goal isn't to increase revenue, you're going to be destroyed and eaten alive by the businesses who do. They'll just buy you out, or Amazon lower the prices, cut out the competition, then raise them back up because now you're used to them. They got the money, reinvested it. Now they're convenient. And over years, you're like, wait a second, Amazon's not cheaper than they used to be, but they're so damn convenient. That's a monopoly. Otherwise, Ron DeSantis, what do you call it? So you talk about Marxism, socialism, communism. Are we going to teach about, and Ron DeSantis would agree with this, are we going to teach about what happened during the pandemic when medium businesses were forced to close? What were the costs of that? Are we going to have costs of American Pandemic Day too? Where does it stop? Why do we have some random victims of Communist Day? We could have victims of anything day. Somebody on the bootlicking left could say, we're going to have the victims of January 6th Day. So you see, those are the First Amendment concerns that I have there. And I'm going to go into opinion or fact. I think a lot of what's happening in our country is people don't understand the difference between an opinion and a fact. Grown adults don't know the difference. I'm going to look at the chat, see what we've got going on. Let's see. Buddha Cafe says, the notion that schools are telling kids socialism, communism is good is indoctrination. The right should counterattack. Yeah, I think we should counterattack. How do we counterattack? It's by teaching kids how to think critically. You don't counter schools to teaching kids that socialism and communism is good by teaching them socialism and communism is bad. That's not a counter. You're doing the exact same thing. You're on a different side. I have no respect for either approach. I'm never going to be telling my kids that socialism and communism are bad. I'm going to be teaching them how to think through these things critically. Matthew Butts, I appreciate you. Matthew Butts says, I appreciate your ability to stand on principle not many have in recent weeks. And the benefit is, there's good news with that and bad news with that, Matthew Butts. The good news is I can do that because I'm independent. The bad news is I don't make any money. That's what happens here with people who can't be principled. If Ron DeSantis is paying your bills, then you're not going to diss Ron DeSantis. If Donald Trump is paying your bills, you're not going to diss Donald Trump. And I'm not going to really blame you for that. I work for a company. If I diss my company, then I'm out on the street. Or, I don't have a job. So I think that's perfectly legit. If I hire somebody for me and then they come out and they're just dissing me, what do I need to hire them for? Why do I need to hire somebody who's dissing me? So, and I'm all for free speech, so they don't have to agree with me. But if they're saying, "Hey, this is bad or that bad," obviously you got to let them go. That just doesn't make sense. So that's what you're seeing. who are you watching? Everybody's tied in. And even if you're not directly tied in, like if you get to the point, I talked to Stephen Ignoramus about this, and he had some very harsh words about Tim Pool. I knew he wasn't a big fan, but I didn't know he was like really hard against him. And I think, I just gave him a little bit of perspective, but with, I'm just using Tim as an example because I'm a big fan. I, I can't, Tim can't do exactly what I do. But let me put it a different way. If I had as many employees on my payroll as Tim does, entities, businesses, spin-offs, business relationships, he's building cafes. You can't, and within that realm, he's doing amazing with being able to have pretty strong positions. That's amazing because that's why he went to his coffee. And Tim, I want an affiliate code. Can somebody holler at Tim? Just give me a code, man. You don't even have to. I'll hawk the Timcast coffee and put in a code Osiris or whatever the hell, middle MAGA, and then break me off a couple percentage. I'm gonna have to hit him up and see if he can do affiliate, just like My Pillow. I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know the business model, so I probably have to I'm not a great business person, so I don't know what the business model he's got set up if that fits. But I'd be happy to support him and make some money, and I think he could get people out there hawking his product. But he went independent with the coffee, so he doesn't have to depend on the advertisers, so he can be more independent. It comes down to the money. How do you feed yourself? Are you going to even, like, a lot of the takes that I've had, a lot of people are disagreeing with it and unsubbing and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I appreciate the time we've had together. If you thought that I was here to feed agreement, then I don't know. That was never the take. Actually, the take was respectful disagreement is really the take. But I appreciate you, Matthew Butts. Let's look at Ray Studios, of course, great friend of the show. The election today proved my point that we all live in an echo chamber. Other people don't even care about the economy or expensive prices. I agree completely, Ray. I agree. Let's talk. Let's set up a live so we can talk about that. I think that'd be a good live for us to talk about. That's when we talk about that kind of stuff, that's good. So I'll text you. I think it's an excellent topic. That's the takeaway from this. Not, would you consider a midterm? No, this election. That's the takeaway from this election. Is that right there? Let me read it one more time. This is a great takeaway here. This is the takeaway from the election so far that I have. Ray said it perfectly here for me. I agree 100% with this. Ray said, this election today proved my point that we all live in an echo chamber. Other people don't even care about the economy or expensive prices. They have echo chambered us online, I think, in a stronger way than you can imagine. Why do you think, and I'll get back to DeSantis in a second. Why do you think we have somebody who is an active member of the World Economic Forum, who is the CEO of X? Why do you think that platform is okay with bringing back all the people that were banned before, if the World Economic Forum is now the CEO of the platform? It's not big. Elon Musk, in my opinion, works for them now. They don't work for him. He works for the World Economic Forum, in my opinion. What he does for the World Economic Forum is provide the algorithmic echo chambers. So Elon Musk is working with them, and what I'm seeing here, all speculation, but this is my opinion. And when we say we live in echo chambers, we're online right now. And our speech is very restricted. We're not breaking through to the normies. So what Elon Musk is doing is he's providing the technical expertise to lead a group of people to create the facade. That's what's happening in our country, is a facade of freedom, a facade of free speech. And people look at Tucker Carlson and say, look at all the millions of views he's getting on X. He had way more power, way more impact to reach normies on Fox than he does on X. So how do you calculate that? I don't know. But that's my opinion is on X, he's not reaching any normies at all. Will that change? I don't know. You would have to get it on TVs, but YouTube's on TVs. So I don't know if they would even let X go to that where they could do. I think Elon wants to do that long term. But we're very, very echo chambered. Very, very, even more than I think we realize. So this speech is not reaching normies. The right is going to have to reevaluate. Ann Coulter came out with an article today on her Substack, and I agree with it 100%. She said something to the effect of pro-life movement, and Ray probably would disagree with this one, but the pro-life, and I'm not telling you to change your morals if this is your morals, but this is what the situation is. The pro-life movement is akin to the defund the police movement. People don't want it. So I don't know what you do with that information, but I think that's pretty much confirmed. And that's another topic for another day. I think that would be make for a great live. Another topic for another day. Ray Studio says, like most people think men should be allowed in women's sports bathrooms. Most think Joe Rogan and Tim Pool are far-right fascists. People don't know them. Yeah, so you know, I don't know about Joe Rogan. I'm not as much of an expert because he reaches millions. I'm not as much of an expert of his echo chambering. How many normies does he reach? I think you could see that he was reaching some normies. That's why they were going after him in the pandemic. His contract is coming up soon, so we'll see where he goes, what happens there. But yeah, if you ask a normie about Joe Rogan, like I wouldn't even talk about Joe Rogan at work because he's now considered persona non grata in a way. And it's weird for Tim Pool to be a right fascist. Everybody who's a real right authoritarian, or you might even call fascist, thinks Tim Pool is like a wishy-washy nothing. He's a classic liberal. Is the tension that you might see with some of the right people and Tim Pool. Ray says, Elon's purchase of Twitter only hurt us even more. The other people hate Elon and think he's a fascist, so it motivated them. Many people on the left also left Twitter after he bought it. That's a good topic of another one. We got each one of those could be alive by himself. And I have to think about that. But right now, I will say I agree with Ray. I never thought I would say that, but I think it really hurt us more as well when you put on top of it that a lot of people who are dissidents or, contrary to the mainstream narrative have become silent because Elon Musk is paying them. So the World Economic Forum is paying them for their opinion, and they know that going against them, look at Tucker Carlson, to my knowledge, has never said the name Linda Yaccarino. Why do you think that is? Because he's on X. He doesn't want to get hurt in the algorithm. Why else would he never say the word Linda Yaccarino? Even if it's to say that the concerns aren't warranted. And Tucker talks about anything and everything, free speech and all that. So I agree. Ray says he doesn't think abortion had much effect. I think the majority of people were going to vote the way they did regardless of it. No, I'm going to disagree. I think abortion is a very simple, single voter issue that if you don't like Republicans, that it gives you the excuse to vote against them for. And I'm 100% for states deciding on abortion. There's no coverage of abortion in the Constitution. We haven't done an amendment on it. It's up to the states. Let's leave it up to the states so we can have peace. That's going to bring us to a good topic. So if I say abortion is bad, is that a fact or opinion? I think a lot of the problems that we're having in the world today is because we don't know what a factor of grown ass people. I told my child's only 7 years old. I told him probably 2 years ago. I told him, because he asked me about TikTok and stuff. And he's like, can I get on TikTok? I guess the kids are talking about TikTok. I was like, I didn't tell him no. Here's what I told him. I said, you can go on TikTok when you can pass an exam to my liking. and I'll give you the exam as many times as possible. When you pass it to my liking, then I think you're ready for social media or turning on the online chats and stuff in your games that you play on your tablets or whatever else. What is it? What is the test that I would be giving my child? It's a very simple test. And that's why we're having problems in this country. Is what is an opinion? So I went in, so let me give you a little bit of the feedback I got before I even get into what is opinion. Let me give you a little bit of feedback I got on this. And I said, I'm not a fan of this. So let me just pick a couple comments from this and see why I started a separate thread. I was like, I don't think none of y'all even understand what an opinion is. So I said, I read the letter. I'm not a fan of the letter. That's crystal clear. Crazy Druid says, and these are not people I have beef with. We have civil agreement and disagreement. Crazy Druid has a great account, says, what's wrong with it? I see nothing except factual accuracy. You see how we got to opinion quickly? Factual accuracy. That Marxism, socialism, and communism are all in the same ideology? You might be right. I might even agree, but that's not a fact. That's not a fact. 1 + 1 = 2 is a fact. That is debatable. Absolutely not a fact. So the government, so you see what the problem is. You have to say, if you don't think that what Ron DeSantis is saying is a fact, then now you know that I'm right, that it's a First Amendment chill and clear violation. And then that creates the cognitive dissonance. I see nothing except factual accuracy. Absolutely incorrect. If you said, wow, this person was dictator, they had this type of government, this many people died, those could be facts. But when you say communism is bad, evil, it's literally in that statement that it's evil. That's not a fact. That's just not a fact. You could say capitalism is evil. Is that a fact to you? No. You can debate these things. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. Lefties like to claim that capitalist falls are not also taught, but that's not true. Well, why isn't there you have a victims of communist day, then why don't you have a victims of capitalist day? I don't want that, but I'm just saying you can have a victims of anything day. And then I said, these are all opinions. We should be very concerned if a government tries to force their opinions on us. And this would be a good transition into the opinions, quoting from the statement from Ron DeSantis. We talked about Marxism. These are quotes, direct quotes from the letter. Marxism, socialism, and communism are 3 terms for the same ideology. That is an opinion. And I don't care how strongly you might agree with it or not, it's still an opinion. There's many people that would disagree and you can argue it. An ideology under the illusion that government can be a universal provider. I would agree with that for communism. That has nothing to do with Marxism to me. So you see the problem, and he conflated all 3 of them. So I actually don't agree with this statement because he's literally conflated all 3 of these things. To me, Marxism, you can put them in like a progression order maybe. The point of Marxism, I don't even know if it's fair to say. I would have to double check that. Let me put that in Chat GPT while I'm waiting here, just to get it's basically like searching Bing is all it is. Let me just put true or false. Was the goal of classic Marxism to bring about socialism, communism, I think it's socialism is the right one, or just to overthrow those in power? Because really, to me, and we'll see what ChatGPT says, not that it's going to be right or wrong, will be a good point of discussion. Because to me, Marxism, and I might be viewing it through the because the neo-Marxism is, well, it's not even to overthrow the government, but so I might be conflating neo with classic. But to me, Marxism is really just an attempt to overthrow those who currently have power. It doesn't even matter if you already exist in a socialist, society or capitalist society. It's a way to divide. That's why you only have 2 sides. It's a way to divide people, to create chaos, to overthrow those who are making the decisions currently. That's how I view it, but maybe that's wrong. But I don't. So I actually do not agree with this statement. But regardless of whether I agree or not, it's an opinion. An ideology under the illusion that government can be a universal provider. I do not agree with that. I do not think that that is I would not apply that to Marxism. And either way, it's an opinion. This failed belief system brings nothing but the equal distribution of misery and poverty. That is opinion. You could say that about capitalism too. I don't think it's the system. I think it's the people. And not just the people in charge, it's the people under the citizens of that, the constituents of that system not doing their civic duty to ensure that those in power don't bring about misery and poverty. Communism is the antithesis to the principles of liberty, prosperity, and the dignity of each individual human life. I do agree with that statement, but it is an opinion, and I don't want my government making that statement. Communism is widespread and actively promoted by liberal politicians, college professors, and pop culture figures in our own country. That's vague. It's an opinion. I don't even know if that's true or not. I have to think about it. I'm not going to strongly disagree, but I'm not going to agree at this point with that. I got to think through stuff. But again, I keep getting into that. Do I agree or not? That's irrelevant. Is it an opinion or not? It's an opinion. It is more important now than ever to teach Florida's school children about the horrific history of communist countries. That's clearly an opinion. The dangers posed by socialism around the world and here at home. That's an opinion. Reflect on the blessings of liberty afforded to us and our posterity as a result of the American traditions of limited government and individual freedom. That is an opinion. I agree with that in theory, but we have gone away from that. I talked with somebody today, and I had to post on X where I said, because we're talking about the First Amendment, and there's more news coming out about how the government created this censorship group through Stanford, and then that censorship group went to the social media companies. We kind of already knew that was happening, but we got some more details. And I said, well, that's great. When the DOJ, when the Department of Justice breaks the law, who prosecutes the Department of Justice? The answer to that is nobody. And that's not limited government. So you can forget about communists. We got that problem right now. Why are we even worried about communism when we're in the country now with that problem? We should have end the DOJ day. I mean, I don't want that, even though I would agree with it. No. I want critical thinking, but you see what I mean? You can just do infinite amount of these days. And then this is the test that I'm going to do for my kids. I'm going to do opinion or not test. Because a lot of people don't understand this is opinion. All this stuff that we're talking about here. So I said, hey, I did a post on X. I said, communism bad. Is that a statement of fact or opinion? Actually, let me go back to X and find that so I can show you some of the reactions to that. And then we'll go into the test. This is the test I'm going to be teaching my kids. I might not go this hard. We'll see how hard I go with the terms, but this type of test. Let's see here. Statement: communism is bad. Because like you just saw, people don't know what a fact is. Because somebody said everything DeSantis said was a fact. That is ridiculous. That's not a fact. He did not say facts there. Absolutely absurd. Statement. Communism is bad. Is that statement a fact or an opinion? Obviously, that's an opinion. Period. There can't even be an argument about that. If you think it's a fact, then you are in your nature fundamentally and morally an authoritarian. That you have to be. Because fact is true for everyone. 1 + 1 = 2. That is true for everyone. If I have one apple and then you give me one apple, I have 2 apples. That is objective truth. If you think the statement communism is bad is objective truth, then you think that it should be bad for me too. Then you are, by definition, pro-authoritarian in your bloodstream. And is that good or bad? That's an opinion. Let's look at a couple of the replies here. You can see the cognitive dissonance happening. Well, this is from the show. Barton Bella says it's the day to honor the victims of communism. Are you denying that there were victims? Seriously, I get you hate DeSantis for keeping every promise he's made, but it truly seems like you look for ways to twist good things into bad things, but you'll cheerlead people who actively try to help Democrats. Loomer. So the Loomer's irrelevant. Whether I hate DeSantis or not is irrelevant. So really what we're talking about is, number one, you didn't answer my question. It's just I said, is that statement fact or an opinion? Why didn't she answer the question, Barton Bella? It's because of cognitive dissonance. What is cognitive? Let me get the definition. Cognitive dissonance is the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to behavioral decisions or an attitude change. It's a psychological conflict that occurs when somebody holds conflicting attitudes. So what we're seeing here is she knows that the reason why she didn't answer my question is because she knows that's an opinion. So she didn't answer the question, and she wants to hold the opinion that it's good, so I want to defend it. You don't answer the question because you know once you answer that question, it's the chess pieces are over, and you understand that I have a good point. I'll just do a couple more if I see anything good here. Let me go back up to this one. There's a couple good replies. Good conversation in here. Look at this. It can, in fact, be both. And that is somebody who is lost. Something cannot be a fact and opinion at the same time. I mean, it just can't. And I don't know how old the person is, but I hope they're not an adult. That isn't, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but if you are an adult, then this is a very important thing to figure out. And you can see how this plays out in our society. Is taking down the poster of missing Israelis good or bad? Is that an opinion or not? As I think it's bad to take it's very bad to do that because I don't, maybe there's a reason somebody could articulate for me. I don't know one. The only one that I could think of, if you know for sure it's a lie, and there's no way for a common person to independently confirm that. It's bad. But is it an opinion? Absolutely, it's an opinion. Somebody could have the opinion that taking down the poster is good. Yeah, and that's why you can see why I believe in moral relativity. You have to. Our country's founded on that. We have the boundaries of the Constitution, but that's why we have some states that are more pro-life than some aren't. Because right or wrong is not a fact, as much as you want it to be. So that's a concerning one to say, yes, it can be both. No, it can't. What you're saying is it's an opinion. If you think something can be both, then it's an opinion. Let's see if there's any other good ones here. So Classic Lib. So look at this. Classic Lib didn't answer my question either. He said, Classic, he or she said, communism is bad. And then looked at famines over 94 million. What percentage of that is just a bad dictator? And communism as a system isn't maybe ideal for me, but it wouldn't count. It wouldn't create 94 million. It's not bright. That's not a fact. It's not a fact to say communism killed 94 million people. That's not a fact. If that's the case, then you'll say capitalism killed how many people? That's not a fact. There's a lot of things in that pot that led to the genocide. But notice the question wasn't answered. I asked, was it an opinion? I didn't ask you if it was bad or not. I asked you, was it an opinion or a fact? And I'm not going to go too much further, but this is a good one to kind of transition. I said, you didn't answer my question. And look at this. This is cognitive dissonance on display. I fear the question will invariably lead to a deeper metaphysical question. What? You didn't answer my question because you are afraid. You know the answer internally in your heart. Whether you express it or not is up to you. You thought about the question, you have an answer. You didn't do the answer because you were afraid of the discussion. Are there objectively good and bad things? And then I replied to that, no. There's no such thing as a objectively good or bad thing. You can break it down to, I love Caesar salad, man. I love Caesar salad with anchovies. I think that's a good thing. My wife, I think because the classic Caesar salad, the anchovies are in the dressing. And I think she'll eat them like that. I should ask her. I'm just curious. But she does. I like the anchovies in the actual salad and in the dressing. It's just really salty and I just love it. She hates it. That there's no objective good or bad with anchovies in Caesar salad. Objectively good or bad. Do we have any anchovies in Caesar salad? Now, I haven't done too much on pizza, but I would try it because I like the saltiness of they're very salty, but I like the saltiness of them. But not on pizza. On Caesar salad, anchovies, whether it's in the dressing or on, is that good or bad? Those are two separate things. For me, it's good. For her, it's bad. My wife loves cottage cheese. And I keep telling her, why are you eating that spoiled milk with a spoon? And then she'll play games and scoop it up and say, hey, you want something? Like, don't, I want to knock that spoon. Don't put that spoon. I want to smell that shit. Cottage cheese is disgusting. I eat damn near anything. The only things I kind of don't like are, I don't like raisins in savory meals. I don't like slimy okra. Fried okra but fried anything's good. And I don't like cottage cheese. I won't eat escargot. It's funny, I won't eat escargot, but I ate pig brains before. We went to a fondue place and had some fondue, which was cool. But for her, cottage cheese is good. For me, I don't want that anywhere. But, there's always an exception. She puts it in lasagna. I guess it's a thickener or something like that. I don't taste it. It's fine. That's a simple one to understand. Everybody loves pizza and hamburgers, right? No, not really. That's not objectively true. Everybody likes chocolate, right? No, everybody doesn't like chocolate. There's no objective truth. So when we come to saying there's objective good or bad, so classic liberal says, okay, so imagine the capacity for the level of pure benevolence in a man that can bring forth upon another, be it upon another man, woman, child, group of people, or even an infant. So when I said there's nothing objectively good or bad, you can take it to the worst act ever. And I'll say, for me, it's bad, but no, it's not. Think of the worst act possible. For me, it's bad, but no, it's not objectively good or bad. And that's where they're going with it. And I appreciate the delicacy, because what people will try to do is get you to say, well, how about rape? Is rape good or bad? Come on. I'm not saying that I think everything. I have my truth or my morals, but I'm saying that's not the same for everybody. And I'll get to how that ties in. So they're saying, well, if there's no good or bad, then there's going to be violence in the world. You're taking the position that there is no objectively good or bad actions taken by men? No, there are not. There's some that have 99%, I guess, agreement on, but it's still not objectively good or bad to me. It's opinion. I said, of course there are no objectively good or bad actions. If you think there are objectively good and bad actions, then why would we even have laws? You don't need to make a law to say 1 + 1 = 2, because it's objectively true. Why do we have laws? If it's objectively good or bad, why do we have laws if we already know? Why do we debate abortion if there's an objective good or bad? That's the problem. So what leads to violence is not the objectively good or bad. It's whether you believe in peace or not is separate from these good or bads. So if your morals lead to, I want conquer like Israel, the morals of the government of Israel lead to, if there's one member of Hamas hiding behind 20 children, bomb them all. That's their moral, and they think that's good. And they are entitled to that opinion. I've never said they're not entitled to that opinion, but they are not entitled to my money. So that's my response there. And then I said, Do you believe that the government taxing citizens is objectively good or bad? I mean, there's nothing that's objectively good or bad. So that's where I have to get my son to my liking to pass this test. And the test is going to be on opinion. Let's go through, and I just had ChatGPT make an opinion true, fact or opinion or fact test. And this one's going to be pretty kind of simple because I kind of broke it up. Here's a series of 10 questions. Democracy is the best form of government. Is that an opinion or a fact? Education is the key to success. Is that fact or opinion? Technology has made life better. Is that fact or opinion? Art is essential to society. Freedom of speech should have limits. Climate change is the most pressing issue of our time. Equality has been achieved in modern society. Violence is never the answer. Happiness is the ultimate goal of human life. Capital punishment deters crime. Those are all opinions. And those are the questions I will be asking. He will not be able to go on social media unless he hides it from us until I feel very confident that he can answer those questions. And I think that's the only, I could be wrong. I could develop a change on that, but I actually think that's the only tool you need to have a force field to be able to navigate social media. That's what you need. So people have all kinds of opinions on me, and I respect that you have your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. I do get, well, if it's a fact, I need to correct if I'm wrong, or if you're wrong, we need to find out what the facts are. Then we can base our opinions based on that. And sometimes I'll say we assume the facts because we don't know what's true or not. Like we talked about the trans manifesto yesterday. I'm assuming it's true. Other people have confirmed it. I can't independently confirm it's part of the manifesto or whatever. Let's assume it's true and have a discussion. Here are some fact statements. So I gave you those. Then I'm going to mix these up. It's not going to be this easy, but water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. Earth revolves around the sun. Humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. The chemical formula for water is H2O. The speed of light in a vacuum is approximately to the number 299,792,000 kilometers per second. Vitamin C is essential for the synthesis of collagen. The Great Wall of China is visible from low Earth orbit. World War II ended in 1945. The heart is an organ that pumps blood throughout the body. The force of gravity on Earth accelerates objects at 9.8 meters per second squared. These are all facts. So let me see. I didn't even look at these. I said, give me 10 more opinions tied into the current divisive news stories. Let's see. I have not seen these yet. The passing of the abortion amendment in Ohio is a regression in women's rights. Legalizing recreational marijuana in Ohio will lead to increased societal problems. These are all opinions. Texas's move to ban wealth taxes is a protection of economic freedom. Boulder's measure to remove tents and structures associated with the homeless is an act of criminalizing poverty. Governor Andy Beshear's reelection in, I believe that's how you pronounce it. He beat, what's the black dude's name? The AG. Daniel I forgot his name. In for Kentucky, is a triumph for progressive values in our conservative state. Governor Glenn Youngkin's policies in Virginia. And I think friend of show, Susanna Gibson, was almost going to win. I'm not going to lie. I am going to completely own this. I'm rooting for her. Can I just have my one victory here? I actually wish this was not true. I'm looking at, I don't know who won or not. I don't even care enough to look it up right now. You could tell me in the chat if you know. It's Susanna Gibson, friend of show. Chatterbait. We call her Susanna Chatterbait Gibson. I can't lie. When I saw the, verse the nondescript dude, the Republican, versus Susanna Gibson, and it was very close. She was losing, but it was very close for the House. We're talking about the House race in Virginia. I can't lie. I was like, I'm rooting for Susanna Gibson. I don't know why. Well, maybe there's a few reasons why. but I'm rooting for Susanna Gibson. That's bad. That's objectively, is that opinion or fact? Is that objectively bad? Is that stupid? But I am. I'm rooting for, I want her to pull this one out. No pun intended. I'm all there behind her. We're gonna make through this. We're gonna make it through this, Susanna. We're gonna make it through this together. I digress. Fact or opinion? I'll digress to some more fact or opinion after this. The defeat of Kimberly Meta Rubio in Uvalde mayoral election is a missed opportunity for meaningful change in the wake of tragedy. The electoral success of Proposition 3 in Texas reflects a just stance against unfair taxation. The initiatives to regulate homelessness, they already did that one in Boulder. The rejection of Kimberly Mata Rubio, so they repeated. Sometimes you have to tell ChatGPT without repeats. Let's look at this real quick. We want to talk about objective truths or facts. Let's get into this here. Let's get into this. Some things are unknown. Is Michelle Obama a man or a woman? Fact or is that a fact or opinion? I don't know. I don't have enough. I actually don't know. I'm gonna stand on that. I don't know. we call her Big Mike for a reason. And I'm being honest. I don't know. Whether she is or not biologically a man or a woman is a fact or opinion. I just can't confirm independently. Is this picture real or not? So we're getting into that post-truth, that postmodern vibe. If you're just listening, you've got a very intimate picture. It might be AI or it might be real, allegedly. Of Michelle could have been in the gym. She could have been working out. I'm trying to get shoulders, man. My shoulders aren't right. I'm trying to get my shoulders and back like Big Mike, and I'm not talking about Tyson. And in this picture, you have a looking naked Obama on the bottom. He's the bottom bitch in this one. And you've got Big Mike on top. And they're in the middle of an intimate situation. Is this fact or fiction? Is this true or not? Who knows? Michelle Obama could have been at the gym working out. Obama looking kind of toned there too. So it fits the narrative. We don't know. The picture is hilarious. Dom was cutting up on X today, man. He said in response to this beautiful picture, he said, I'm requesting a pause on AI. I'm paraphrasing. I am requesting an immediate ban on AI. This is just too far. It's just a step too far. No, I think this is perfect. Where are those veins coming out of Michelle Obama's neck? Let's get some journalists to figure that out. Obama looks like he's enjoying himself, so whatever floats your boat. I'm not going to hate on that. Here, is this true? Is this opinion or fact? Donald Trump's lawyer, I don't know, how do you pronounce the name? Alina? Is it Alina? Alina? Lawyer Alina Habba. Hot or not? Is this fact or opinion? I think we're looking at objective truth at this point, aren't we? No, I'm just playing. It's opinion. Margot Robbie, hot or not? It's a not. She's mid to me. I call her Margot Mid Robbie. Why is she mid? She's just not. I don't know. Maybe she's too textbook for me. I don't know. I like them thickums. I like a little bit thickums. She's not that thickums. So everybody, I can have my personal opinion. Like I'm thick, not too thick. This is Trump's lawyer. Of course it's Trump's lawyer. She looks like a damn model or something. Trump, do you pick people because of how they look or not? Yeah, I've done a segment on that. He picks people in part how they look. This is her at Mar-a-Lago. How are you going to meet with her and talk about the ins and outs of your finance case in New York? Dressed like that. You're a married man. Pappy, come on, get it together. She's just chilling in Mar-a-Lago. And Dom just posted it just knowing that it's going to get, 10 million or something, 1.6 million views. Now, you wonder why Dom doesn't do as many. I'm just speculating. Dom is the GOAT at threads on Twitter. The best ever. I haven't seen that many from him. When you can post a picture of, what's her name? Alina Haba and get 1.6 million views. You don't need. He probably works a lot on those threads. Those are hard threads to work on. He's probably working on them while he does this stuff too. But if you get 1.6 million on this, just retweeting a picture of Trump's lawyer. Quick, Trump's lawyer or a model? Trump is. I replied to this. I was like, Trump don't miss, man. Trump don't miss. Larry says the significant part is that she's real, just like Tiffany. I don't think the assets aren't real, but they actually look good for fake ones. I'm not a big fake. Maybe they're real. I don't know. They look a little too perky for me to be real, but maybe they are real. TNT Cyclopedic said, objectively, she's fire. And I'm not going to argue with you on that one. I think we can be okay with that. I'll be okay with that truth. We can hold these truths to be self-evident. The replies are hilarious in this, man. This is good to get a break from politics, man. We can just have a good laugh. Back in August of last year, I said, why am I surprised that this is a Trump attorney? Lindsay Halligan. Is Trump just picking out like the ex-universe models as his attorneys? And they're just incompetent. They're not actually. I've heard how about after the public speaking, she's been good, but I'm just joking around. Like, are they competent or are they just hot? Trump. Like, Trump's like, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down with somebody that's bangable. That's just my preference. That's what Donald Trump would say. That's just my preference. You do you, but if I'm going to get hemmed up, if they're going to take everything I own, I'm going to go down with somebody who's going to be hot on TV at the very least. Is that a Trump attorney or a Hooters model? Which one? Quick. We were doing, which country is this? Quick. It's like thousands of Muslims praying to Mecca in the streets, and it's Toronto, Canada. I'm like, quick, what country is it? Nobody knows. This is her on the right. Quick. Is it a Trump attorney or Girls Gone Wild? Quick, which one is it? Mature content. Oh my gosh. I'm clicking on the links and it's actually mature. I gotta be careful. There's nothing here. So quick, I'm not gonna click on any more because they're wearing like those booty shorts or whatever. Quick. One of these, quick. Which one of these is Girls Gone Wild or a Trump attorney? A, B, C, or D? One of these, no, in all seriousness, one of these is a Trump attorney. Which one is it? I'm going to go with A, B, C, D, E. It's A. The one that's not showing the ass as much. That's the Trump attorney. Trump, how does Melania let you do that, man? You got a model as a wife, bro. You don't need to, So Trump's going out with his attorney. He's all dressed up. His attorney's like dressed like an escort. And Melania's like, where are you going? Trump's like, I'm going to a meeting. I'll be right back. We talk about the court case, babe. I'll be right back. It'll take a couple minutes. No, not much longer than that. Melania's like, what are those blue pills in your wallet? What is that? Oh, no, it's not. It's a blue M. It's Skittles. It's a new type of Skittles. Honey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Trump, you a clown, bro. I can't lie. She is the hottest in this group, though. She's hot. Trump don't miss, do he? That's why that's why I was like, Waka Flocka, tell us why you like Trump. Because we might get a good laugh of it, and we might agree. He's an alpha, man. He don't roll with like fives, okay? It's Donald Trump. It's a 9 or a 10. Objectively. He doesn't roll with anything else. And that's why people, in part, like him. In all seriousness. Quick, am I on Pornhub or is this Trump's attorney on TV? Quick. Pornhub. She's on TV doing a quick Fox hit. Oh man, you don't even know. Like, quick, is this an escort or is it a Trump return? I don't know. This is a wild moment from Donald Trump back in the day. Let's take a break and take a look at this.
My name is Juliet. I have a question. My question is, how many jets do you have and how would I advise the flight attendants?
So I don't even know. It doesn't even matter what she said. She's saying something like, how many judges do you have? And she's not. She's probably, I don't know. The picture is grainy, so she's probably in that, for a Trump, probably that 7 to 8 range. Got some assets. Trump's like, you know what? You're close enough. Come up on stage.
I think she's hired.
Trump says, I think she's hired. Did you see Grandpappy die? He did the bow left. Why? He wanted to see what she was working with based. He wanted to see what she was working with from behind. He's like, I can't see from behind. So there it is. You see it? The tilt left. Why? Because he's like, I can't see your behind. I'm trying to see what we're working with. Trump is a damn fool, man. Yeah, he must have liked what he saw. So Donald Trump didn't say you're fired. He's like, he did the bow left, and then he was like, you're hired.
You're hired. Now, I had a case. It was very interesting. A beautiful girl who was 17 or 18 applied to be a waitress. She's so beautiful. She's like
That was Trump. Just make sure they're 18 or older.
a world-class beauty, like the young lady who just asked a question about the actress. She's so beautiful. And my people came, she said, well, Mr. Trump, she has no experience. So I interviewed her anyway, because she was so beautiful. And I said, let me ask you, do you have any experience? She goes, no, sir. I said, when can you start? You can work on my plan anytime.
See, then he now she's walking away. He can get another look. That's Donald Trump for you. That's the grandpaps. Trump don't play, man. Trump don't miss. I'll buy that for $1. Jordan Lott, what's up? Why you up? How you up so late, Jordan Lott? I appreciate you as well. Taco said Osiris is down with the thickness. Yeah, it's just, you got to get a little bit of meat on the bones is all it is. Not too thick. See, thick is, you know my definition. The more you know is if you are able to hide a hot dog. So if you're able to take a hot dog and put it in your roll and hide it completely from view, you are fat. Doesn't mean I won't say you're attractive. I'm just trying to do this definition. Fat does not mean ugly. Because you could be just like barely fat, and or even fatter and still look good to me. But that, if you can hide it, that's fat. If you're trying to get the roll over it and then you can still see the hot dog, you're thick. That's the definition. I think I'm the only person, I'm taking full credit, I'm the only person who has definition. I want fact or fiction on thickness. That's the point. That's why I did that. I'm just built like that. I'm tired of this, well, she's thick. No, she's fat. No, that's seriously how it came up. That's seriously how it came up. The arguments over online, no, she's fat. No, she's thick. And in my head, I'm like, okay, no, I think she's thick. Okay, no, I think she's fat. What's the difference? Okay, whether you can hide the hot dog or not, that's the difference. So that's why I'm here to bring to the distinguished gentlemen of the chat, and if there's any women here, you have your own definitions of your things too. It goes both ways. But those are the tests. When you look at the opinion, the factor of fiction, or basically fact or opinion, that's what I go through. And you see people are struggling with this. They don't know how to handle it. So these are fair questions. Buddha Cafe said, you're good with Lizzo. So there's two separate things going on here. Is Lizzo fat or not? Am I good with Lizzo? You can, obviously someone can be fat and you can still be good with it. It's all good. Lizzo is obviously fat. Let's get that truth out of the way. We're dealing with facts here. By my definition, it is. I mean, at least in my world, by my definition, that is a fact. She could hide the whole grocery aisle of hot dogs and she'd be fine. But my take with Lizzo is she would have to lose about 300 pounds, and I think she would be hot. I actually do. I think she'd be very attractive if she lost 300 pounds. So that's a nice way of saying that she's not my cup of tea as currently constructed. Ray says, you know something? I'm starting to consider what Steven said. He said a bunch of these leftists don't deserve freedom and shouldn't get freedom. y'all going authoritarian, man. But I'm not going to disagree with that. I have to think it through, but I don't think we deserve freedom. We can't even get them to release the information on a manifesto from somebody who unlived people. Everyone should be fired. Police chief, all of them, we should be like, get up out of there until we get this manifesto. All the way up to the president. So I don't think we deserve freedom, much less the leftists. Taco says Lizzo could hide a Ford Fiesta. If you can hide, maybe we need to do another category. If you can hide a small compact car, then you're obese. Let's go to that route. There's a classic TikTok I have to define the thickness, but there's some good ones online too. I had this debate. Let me see if it comes up. Okay. Here it is. Here's the thick versus fat debate. This is how I think this is where I came up with the definition while you're playing. Is it pronounced like Baby Rexa? Or is it, I don't even know how to pronounce her name. But it came out that she was kind of thicker. She's gained some weight. Okay, so I've gained weight too, whatever. And then that's not bad. There's her picture. That's not that bad. Like, that's not something to be crying about or anything like that. Or, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, but I'm like, that's not fat, guys. It's thick, though. So she said, yes, I'm in my fat era. And what? And I like that. Be proud, but you're not fat. You're thick. And you can still be attractive, still hot. Don't get it twisted. I want you to be in the best shape possible, but you can still be hot. And I said it's of the utmost importance to distinguish between the two. And then I gave the definition. And I think that's actually the exact tweet that I came up with the definition. What is this? Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I'm getting out of here, man. I don't have any safe on my, I don't get prawn on my feed, but I don't have a safe filter on, and whoo, okie dokie. I got cheeks that I did, this is the second time on a live that I got cheeks that I didn't ask for. Got cheeks that I didn't ask for. And this is baby Rexa right here. Oh, got super chat. Eric Smith, what's up? Said, I just tuned in and saw the headline. I'm so proud of you for filling your dreams and becoming a leftist. I really mean that I'm proud of you for taking a stand on something. Eric Smith, thank you for the super chat. Said, I have become a leftist. But remember, the channel is called Middle MAGA for a reason. And I don't start all the time with it, but usually when I'm on with somebody else's podcast or something that don't know me, I'm like Middle MAGA because I'm somewhere in between or who is a leftist and Steve Bannon. But it's really, you've got three things going. You've got the left side, you've got the Bannon side, but then you got the comic Dave Smith side. So and then a lot of libertarian ideas can be conflated with leftists. So you can kind of push me over to the left. So I don't even care what people call me. It's more about your take on each. You could be a leftist on one issue and not on another. So, labeling people is dangerous. But, Jimmy Dore's pretty much left on every issue. But leftists consider him right-wing. So that's an opinion too. But I appreciate it. The Corn Hub comment section is funny as, the Prawn Hub. I don't even go through the comment. Is the comment section funny in Pornhub? I didn't know that. I'll check it out next time. But this was Baby Rex. So I didn't show the picture. She's just normal. She's kind of getting kind of like that mother bod. So it's all good. That could be hot too. Buddha Cafe said, well, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you say that Marxism is not the same as socialism? So I'm not an expert in these, but I don't consider them the same. No, I don't. But let's take a look and see. Let me get some reference here. My view of Marxism is more of something designed because you can have a Marxist revolution within a socialist system, right? Marxism is designed to take down those in charge, is how I look at it. Or am I wrong? Can you not have a Marxist system in a socialist constructed society? Tell me yes or no, somebody. Let's just do ChatGPT because we're on a delay, so it's going to take a couple minutes. Let's just do a search here and see if ChatGPT can help with some of these questions. I'm not able to get into this Grok thing that finally the XAI is coming out, but I had to sign up to get on the wait list or whatever. I haven't checked to see if they let me in. But it's supposed to be, I guess, something like ChatGPT. Can you have a Marxist revolution? No, maybe you could say it's socialism. Wait, Marxism to me is the economic social structure to create a philosophy to create a revolution. It's just to me, so it's separate from the. Why would you say Marxism is Marxism would bring in socialism, but I don't think Marxism by itself is socialism, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me just ask this question. Is Marxism socialism? If not, why not? Outline bullet point. It's just easier to read in outline bullet point, so that's why I put that in there. Let's see what ChatGPT says here. Buddha Cafe says, I never use ChatGPT. Can you ask, does Marxism correspond with socialism? Yeah, I think that's what I'm asking right now. Let me make myself smaller. Try to make that bigger. Let's see what it says here. It's still putting it out. Marxism and socialism are terms that are often conflated, but they represent distinct philosophical positions with differing goals and methodologies for achieving a transformed society. So far that would go towards what I was saying. Ownership of the means of production. Under socialism, the means of production are... Marxism is not a societal structure, though. Under socialism, the means of production are typically owned or controlled by the state for the benefit of all. Marxism, while sharing the socialist goal of public ownership, anticipates a stateless and classless society, that's communism, that completely abolishes private property. That's communism. Government structure. In socialist systems, the community owns the companies and the means of production, with the government serving as a regulator to ensure that the profits benefit the entire community. So that's where you get the centralized power. Marxism envisions an eventual dissolution of the state. Yeah, you don't have state post-capitalism, which differentiates it from many socialist models. So it's not actually closer to communism. Both socialism and Marxism advocate for egalitarian distribution of wealth. The Marxist economic system is actually really complicated. I don't get into that. I'm not an expert. It gets really complicated quickly. Marxism places a significant focus on class struggle. Okay, so let's compare Marxism. So let's do the same question and then do Marxism. Is Marxism communism? I think this would be a more interesting comparison. But as you can see, Ron DeSantis conflated all three, and that's not a good it's not good to conflate. I maybe I do that sometimes, but I would never do an edict saying we have to teach kids that these are all conflated. That's craziness. Marxism and communism are terms that are intricately linked, yet they signify distinct concepts. The main differences between them, let's look at that. Theoretical versus practical. The big difference. Marxism is a political, social, and economic theory. Communism is the practical implementation of Marxist theory. Well, what's the difference really? Its form of government and social organization. That doesn't tell me what the difference is. A framework for analyzing. So maybe Marxism is more theoretical, where part of Marxism is analyzing history, overthrowing the government or whatever. Communism is where you're already there. Means of controlling a country. Marxism does not prescribe to a specific form of government, but rather outlines the conditions that could lead to dissolution. Communism often involves more extreme measures. Marxist ideology itself does not advocate for the use of violence. I don't know if I agree with that. It does analyze and justify the conditions under which a revolution by the proletariat working class could occur. So some of these things, I don't even agree with that. That's not true. Marx clearly advocated violence. By any means necessary comes from Marxist views. I've done a live on that where I broke it down. I forgot the quote, but there was a quote that basically, from Marx himself. So I will disagree with that from what I know. So even after reading that, I'm not sure. I'm still not sure it's very different. It's hard to even define these terms. I mean, I think it's dangerous for even to have. Let's look at that bill. What is that bill? I haven't looked at the bill, HB 395. Let me just do a whole new chat. Tell me about the bill HB 395 in Florida. Let's see what it finds. So it's just searching Bing, as you can see if you're watching. Oh, I'm not showing. As you can see if you're watching, it's just searching Bing. So, Florida House Bill 395 has been a topic of legislative activity. The bill, titled the Hurricane Protection for Condominium Associations. What does this have to do with the? Oh, in a different legislative session, House Bill 395 bore significance in establishing the Victim of Communism Day. That's weird. It's the same bill that did the hurricane. This particular bill required the governor to proclaim November 7, and they will observe this day starting 2023-2024. Ron DeSantis signed this version of the bill, also announcing his budget. Yeah, so it looks like I'll have to analyze the bill itself, but there's nothing new. The letter was actually better, but I'll have to analyze the actual bill because they hide stuff in there. So Buddha says, "You're choking, bro." Wait, what do you mean? Am I joking or choking? Buddha Cafe says, "I'm choking, bro." So if you think communism and socialism are not conflated, I take it you don't side with Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman. Well, I'm not condoning. I'm not an expert on Thomas Sowell or Milton Friedman. Give me the takes from them. If you think communism and socialism are not conflated, I just don't think that should be presented as a fact. So I don't even know if I would. I've already conflated communism and socialism before, but it's because I don't fully understand I hear and I read the differences, but it's very, and maybe that's why you can conflate them. But I will say this, the letter conflated Marxism, communism, and socialism, and that is unbelievably off. I think we're clear on that. Specifically because we just looked at Marxism and socialism, and then they're not even they're too far apart to be conflated. They're to be put together. That doesn't. And you're going to teach people as fact about that. I'm not a Marxist, communist, or socialist, but I am a mixed economy person. I believe it or not, I haven't talked about it in a while, but I do believe in theory with a government you can trust in universal basic income. The only problem with universal basic income is that we don't trust the government. But then if you don't trust the government, then what's the government good for on any idea? And I do believe in Medicare for all, a system like that where people pool your money together, even under a libertarian utopia. You have a territory of people. It could be a state, or it could be you draw your own lines, and you pool your money together and say, hey, we have a floor. Everybody, we pooled money together. It's just like taxes, but it'd be voluntary. But then if you didn't pay the taxes, then you would have to leave the territory. But you pool your money together and say, here's the floor for income. Everybody has $500 a month. That's your basic income. But the reason why we can't trust that is because of the government. If you can't trust the government, then you can't trust the government on anything. So what are we arguing about? So I do agree in theory with universal basic income, and that is obviously a socialist, or I don't even know if it's socialist or communist. I have to think about it. I'm not an expert in these terms, but I will say that saying that they're evil is an opinion. I'm an expert on that. I mean, I can say that definitively. You might think you might agree that they're evil, but that's an opinion. Somebody can say, no, they're not evil, and have a legitimate argument. I can't believe I have to explain that to grown people. That's not objectively true or false there. Let's see. Choking, I don't know. I didn't understand that particularly. Thomas Sowell, that's my man right there. So yeah, I've read a little bit of Thomas Sowell, but I'm not an expert. So I need to hear the exact take. They are the same, but I that's how I view them in more stages. I would view them as you have it's easier to describe if you have a capitalist society. Marxism is the theory or philosophy to get the violent, or however it needs to be done by any means necessary, movement to overthrow those in power to bring in the next stage. The next stage would be socialism, but the end goal is communism, and then you would move to communism. So if they're stages, then why would you conflate them as the same thing? You got to be, there's just too much nuance here. And we have socialism. What is welfare? We have socialism right now in our country. So I don't even understand. Why are you worried about these ideas in general when we got them in our country? Are you anti-welfare? Then you're going to have an anti-welfare day? This doesn't make any sense. 20 Kevron, great friend of the show, says fighting communism with communism makes no sense. That's what I think Ron DeSantis is doing. In the end of the day, communism is centralized power. It's just a form of authoritarianism, totalitarianism, in my opinion. There's no private property. And Ron DeSantis, it's a Babylon Bee headline. Ron DeSantis combats communism by wielding centralized power of the state to force people to believe, ideology. It's a Babylon Bee headline. To suggest universal basic income make you a libertarian. I think that's separate from libertarian. The idea of libertarian is, for me, libertarianism is decentralization, peace, and private property ownership, or the right to prosperity through private property ownership. That's all it is, maximizing those three things. So that's the problem when you talk about communism and socialism. These things have never been done at 100%. We don't have 100% capitalism. So why do we make definitive statements about capitalism? When has that ever existed? It's that in a country this big. So when you talk about, am I a libertarian? That's why I don't even label myself as a libertarian. I said I'm middle MAGA. What does that even mean? It's because I don't know, maybe I'm 33% MAGA, 33% libertarian, I don't know, 33% left. I don't know, but it's a percentage. Just like they said on the gay or straight spectrum, Yuval Harari said, we can use tech to see how gay or straight you are. Are you 90% straight or maybe 75% or 50-50 or 5%? You're Dylan Mulvaney, you're like 1% straight or something like that, or 0.001. It's not I think that's on the spectrum. Gender is not on the spectrum, but whether you're straight or not can be, I think. So am I a libertarian? I don't know. Maybe that's why we took the political compass test. I don't know. Maybe I'm 25%, 50%. I don't know, 51%. I have no idea. How do you put a number on that? Eric Smith said, I love you, Cyrus. It's okay. Embrace the left. I embrace whatever I am. If you call it left, your terms are acceptable. My take is my take. So love you too, Eric, man. Long time friend of the show. We can disagree. It's all good. I'm not afraid to be called a leftist. You can call me a leftist. I don't care. Thomas Sowell was a communist and was Milton Friedman's student, and Milton converted him. Yeah, but I just need to know the specific takes of them that you're referring to. I just don't know their stuff that well to rattle it off. 20 Kevron says, I think you're left libertarian. That's what I expected. When we did the political compass test, I was actually right libertarian. But that test is not perfect. I think you're right. I think you're right based on definitely what I'm saying here is I'm probably left libertarian a little bit. That's in the Ian. That's why I probably like Ian Crossland. I think Ian Crossland is left libertarian. Ray, I think what happened in the midterms last year and this year's election was going to happen regardless of abortion. Oh, wait, that's the same one. Oh, most people lean hard left. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, strategically, people who are pro-life have to, just like the defund the police, you got to decide how much you want to push that thing, man. I don't think it's worth it. I just, even beyond the political strategy, I'm pro-choice. Legislatively, personally, I'm pro-life. But I do not take my views and impart them on somebody else. Because back in the 40s, before the big deal, and you're talking about the big New Deal? I mean, the New Deal? And Jim Crow, blacks and other minorities, unemployment was 3%. Yeah, that's before socialism, basically. So we had the New Deal brought in, FDR, and it brought in, and then Lyndon Johnson as well, up the social programs. And I think it did create that adherence to the state, and that's socialism. It's not communism because you still have private property, even though that's probably going to be next, because you have BlackRock buying up all the. See, they're trying to bring in communism. You see, BlackRock, you crash the economy. The 1% got rich as the economy crashed, shut down the economy. Small businesses close, big businesses open. Amazon, others get rich. BlackRock gets rich. They get rich on the way down and the way up. Interest rates go up. BlackRock owns trillions of dollars. They buy up property and they work with the government. So essentially that's communism. Once they buy up all the land and housing, you are straight up. When they say you will own nothing and be happy, that's literally communism. That's a literal communist type statement. Is it 100%? I don't know, but it's like 80. I don't know. It's really over 50%. That's communism. We don't own. I do streaming services. I used to own records. I don't buy records anymore. I have Spotify. That's not. You don't have private things anymore. If I rent this monitor, if I rent this keyboard, if I rent the computer, then they're not mine, and that's not private property. That's communism. That takes away liberty. So from that standpoint, I agree with, but it doesn't matter if I agree with DeSantis or not. I never want the government to be telling me an opinion is fact. That should be a scary thing for anybody. Because I'm not going to agree with DeSantis on everything. I don't need you telling me what your opinion is as fact. That ain't work. I got my own opinion. We might agree, but I got my own opinion, bruh. I'm a grown ass man. If you allow DeSantis to say this opinion is fact, then he can say any opinion is fact. And you will not always agree with him. The New Deal, yeah. Ray said, you say you wouldn't want to force your opinions on others? Never. Well, some could say making it illegal to be pedos is forcing your opinions on others. So I don't think that's good reasoning. No, I would not. So and that's where I wanted to take this actually, is the one person that replied to me on X was like, well, there's a lot of bad people in the world. Isn't pedos bad objectively? I think it's bad. And I want to share a society with people who think it's bad. And I want people who think it's good to be in a different society. And if they are in my society and they think it's bad, and we can go through the judicial system and prove that they broke a law, then they should go to jail. So no, I don't think pedo is objectively bad. For me, it's bad, but you have societies in Africa, they live in huts and whatever. They have sex and with young people all the time. That's for them in their society. That doesn't work here. And the piece is, you live over there, you have your own laws, and I have mine over here. So no, I don't enforce that. I think we should decentralize things to areas where we have close enough agreements on moral foundations, and we should not be aggressing upon each other. I wonder what Vivek's thoughts on DeSantis's actions. I don't know if this one's bubbling up. I don't think a lot of people are talking about this. But Vivek agreed with me on his, I believe it was I think it was an executive order. My memory is so bad. I just did a live on it, but it was an executive order. Vivek agreed with me on that. So I think he would agree with me on this, but I don't think he's replied. I don't think it's bubbling up as a big story, but maybe it is. I don't know. It should be, but I don't think it is. Ray says, so then you wouldn't have an issue with them legalizing it then, because some want to. Not in where I live, no. But if they want to do it in a different country, we're not sharing a union like that. Yeah, if they want to do it in a different country, like if they want to do it in some hut in Africa, that had nothing to do with me. Whether it's a hut in Africa or if it's Michigan, where it's a different country, or California wants to legalize pedos, I'm fine with that. As long as we don't share tax dollar, we don't share anything. And maybe we will still do a defense agreement between our countries or something like that, but we'd be different countries. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I probably won't visit your country. Right now, we're already there. I'm not visiting California unless I have to. San Francisco is one of my favorite cities in all time. Love San Francisco. Beautiful city. Parks, museums, wonderful food, just a beautiful urban area. Fisherman's Wharf, or what I forgot what it's called, but the wharf area out there. You see the seals and all that kind of stuff, and the museums. Just a wonderful area. San Diego's beautiful. The sailboats, beautiful beaches, and I don't want to go out there. It's a different country. Their views don't align with mine. They are not my peers. But in the area, so you have to break down fundamental. Do we, in the culture war? I'm gonna be out in a little bit, but let me bring this up because this is a perfect topic, and I never brought it up from the culture war. The culture war is one of the best shows out there right now, yo. Culture war is amazing. What Tim Pool show is just amazing. Just absolutely amazing. And I would try to do the same thing. If I had the ability like Tim Pool, I would do the same thing where I'd bring people on to debate. The only thing is I would want somebody else to moderate. Tim's moderating, but whatever. In this, they talk about I hate that YouTube needs to get their AI up to do the automatic because it takes a long time to do chapters. And I haven't done chapters when I really should. But in this discussion, they're talking about the country falling apart. Let's start here.
Right. Like they disrupted the certification.
He would have had to have done it prior.
Exactly. So like on January 6th, if he had done that, it wouldn't have made any difference because the certification legally, because the certification has already happened. So if the decertification does not arrive for any reason by January 6th, then it goes into a contingent election. But it has to take place on that date.
Yeah.
Right. The U.S. electoral system is both breakdown. Like I don't know if it's 2024, but I mean also no one came to replace this at the FDA. Like they turned out the lights at the FDA. That's when I knew. Like all the other stuff, like the American Carnage speech, all that stuff. That's when I knew America's in trouble. like, let's start to think about this deep structures of this, because like you can go without politicians, but without a bureaucracy, without a civil service, and this happens all the time in countries falling apart, in countries in civil war.
Yeah.
Is that the only institution that everyone approves of is the military, right? And I mean, in America, that's just extreme now.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I agree completely. That's why I'm very disappointed in MAGA. Just off the rip with what's going on in Israel, you got to be like, well, hold up. The military is getting too much power. This is ridiculous. Stop. Even if you like Israel. That's why the take is so inauthentic from MAGA. It's like you could even say I stand with Israel, but the military-industrial complex is a problem. Not giving them any money. Don't even say you're not giving money to Israel. Just make it about our own military. Nope.
like no one has any respect for the Supreme Court. Nobody, never mind Congress.
Military's going down.
Well, they're the last one standing in this decline of faith in institutions, decline of faith in the media, decline of faith in the church.
But obviously, they're not really declining. They just are supporting. They're not actively on the ground. They're doing it through mercenaries and stuff. But the military still has a lot of approval across the board in our country. That's not good.
Right, decline of faith in local government, decline, like, that is the mega trend from the.
I'm looking for the part where he talks about the Constitution. I don't remember where it is.
To actually get this shit together. That's why we confederated. That's why we became a country.
Wow,
right?
but Canada sided with the South?
Yeah, 100%. The ultra worst, where you're dealing with death squads.
So wait, our best case scenario is the Troubles.
Well, you're already past the troubles.
You're
You're
combat in the street, though.
Pardon me?
We don't have gunfights in the street over politics.
Yes, we do.
I'm talking.
It's not like straight. He's going to talk about strategic, but we got. I mean, a older Jewish man just got unlived at a pro-Palestine rally. I don't know. We don't know exactly what happened, but it's not like full blown. But we've got stuff popping off.
It's over history, and it never goes well.
Here's my fear. A few scenarios. We've known for a while that there are militias on the southern border.
Yeah,
they've been around for a long time. But now a video just came out.
It's in Brazil and Argentina.
And
these players Europe or some shit, right? or something. Like I missed a hockey or something, right? And you did this and you did that. But actually the problem here is that these systems mean that no one feels like their voice is heard politically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
right, like conservatives keep sending Republicans to Washington to change it, and it doesn't ever change. And then they go, and then they get really angry and they blame. But it's like the lesson here is that no one is actually having influence. I mean, this is what like Andrew explained. He betrayed his political class. He told me the truth of how it works. And when you look at I
can't find it. I'm going to search to find it. I'm up late anyway. I want to find that clip. But Ray says, but let's be honest, people in third world countries are uncivilized, have been into cannibalism, done psychedelics and all. They're not people in their right mind. But that has nothing to do with me, though. They're not in my country. So I don't care. So I'm not, where I live, I would not want pedo to be legal. But if they want to have pedo being legal, I mean, they have Sharia law over there in the Middle East. They ain't got nothing to do with me. I don't want to live under their rules. And I don't want to impart my rules on them. Just live how you want to live. Same with China. Live how you want to live. Just stay the hell up out of my country. Same with pedo or any topic. So, I mean, yeah, they're uncivilized. That's an opinion, too. They could say we're uncivilized because we're so far away from nature. I mean, it's all that's opinion. And I really couldn't care less. We just don't share enough of a fundamental belief. I want to share a country with people that have a fundamental belief. And that's and be on peace. So decentralization brings peace. If somebody's not peaceful, they're just not peaceful. It doesn't matter if it's centralized, decentralized. That's a whole separate thing from is pedo legal or not. Are you peaceful or not is a completely separate thing. If somebody is pro-pedo, but then they want to invade my country to make my country pro-pedo, then we've got a problem. That's when we've got a problem, and we've got to be able to defend ourselves. So I believe in strong defense. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not out here offensive trying to spread democracy to That's where our country's gone back. They said we're going to spread democracy and all over the Middle East. The Middle East they don't have a culture of democracy. It doesn't work there. What kind of sense? How does democracy fit with Sharia law?
Look at the influences. You look at the incentives for people. There's just no incentive to actually listen. Let's get back to because I actually want to. I'm fascinated by this question. This is now the question that I think might follow this one.
Yeah,
is like
what unifies this country?
Yes, this is it right here. Let me find it. Ray's the best at finding the clips. I'm proud I found this one pretty quickly.
Ideas, and then the right takes them on, and just take book banning in libraries. Like that was started by left-wing groups, right? And then the right took it on and was like, let's do this for real. I
don't agree with this. Just ignore this until he gets to what's bringing us together.
Let's start to ban all these books.
But so let's clarify that.
Well, there
are real examples like To Kill a Mockingbird.
I actually want to let's get back to because I actually want to. I'm fascinated by this question.
So
this is now the question that I think might follow this one.
I think he had brought it up earlier, so might not be the right one because they get back to the book stuff and they're off topic. But
yeah,
is
what unifies this country?
Okay, we all understand that it's broken, right? We all understand that
our country shouldn't be a country anymore. We should not be the 50 states do not agree on the Constitution. There's nothing keeping us together. That's where he's getting at.
This system is just not.
He a Canadian. He doesn't understand America at all. But it's good to get perspective sometimes from someone who this dude doesn't know what the Constitution is. He doesn't understand the founding of this country. He's completely lost when it comes to that. But he has kind of like a book knowledge of it because he's written some books.
Functioning and you can have your pride in the Constitution. I get it. It's a beautiful document.
No, he doesn't get it. No, he doesn't. Don't say that.
I get why you would want to stand behind it, but it just doesn't work, right?
So then he says it just doesn't work. No, you asshat. No, he's not. I'll retract that. No, you ignoramus. It's not the Constitution. It's that everybody in this 50-state union needs to separate out. And some people will still keep the Constitution. Some people will do something else. I have no idea what California would write as their Constitution right now. That would be a hell of a Constitution to look at.
What is the document that would work? And if you're telling me that you can't even agree on freedom of speech,
but
how are you going to get to?
But hold on.
So that's he talked about it earlier before that. He's right. If we can't even agree on the First Amendment, how do we get to anything else? And I bring that up to talk about with what Ray is saying. The Constitution, I think Ray would agree, there's nothing wrong with the Constitution. You just need to decentralize until you get to a small enough group of people who agree. That's why you've got to concentrate power. We're sprinkled all over the country. And over time, this isn't going to happen over a week or a year. Over the course of 20 years, 40 years, you concentrate to states. We don't have any red states. No red states, no real red states to me. No freedom, look at Florida. I just did 2 lives, probably 4, 5, 6 hours worth of lives, talking about how Ron DeSantis has just been completely bastardizing the First Amendment. That is not a state. That's not a state for me. So it might be better than other states, but you've got to get a state that believes in the Constitution, stays true to it, and then concentrate power from counties on up. So that wasn't really actually the moment. It was before that, but that touched on it there. Actually, let me find the moment where he first brings it up.
What if shallow this thinking? It's like you have to, if you don't have a basic solidarity.
Here we go.
And to allow hundreds of people to illegally enter the country. This is there is no way. It doesn't matter what your perspective is on immigration or otherwise. If the state law in the state is saying, we say, no, it's illegal, and we buy a barrier. And the federal government says, we don't care what you're doing. We're subverting your state sovereignty.
In violation of the federal laws, too.
Absolutely.
You know?
So that means we have to secede. Secession is a part of the checks and balances.
This is something it's happening slower. I don't know about this particular example, but one of the things that's happening, it truly is bipartisan, is that states are using their resistance to the federal authority as a vote winner in their own states.
Yep.
Right. And that's equally true in California, as it is for Texas, as it is for Florida, where they are, and that is just playing with fire. I mean, that is like, that is, I mean, for everyone, like you were dealing with, where you have this, you know, and you have things like, who was the attorney general under Trump? What was his name?
He had more than
Bill
one.
Barr.
No,
No,
I'm
not-
thinking about the old guy.
Right.
I forget his name, but he had to go to California and say to them, you know, you are in violation of federal authority.
Yep. They don't
Like
care.
we are like, and they did change it, but like it is one of those things where it's like, it's so shallow, this thinking. Like it's so shallow, this thinking. It's like you have to, if you don't have a basic solidarity, you're not going to survive as a country.
And this is a really good example, the various sanctuary ideas that are popping up. But the point I wanted to make with the militias, when you have the state of Texas saying, by our laws and our borders, be it so, and the federal government, in violation of its own laws and the state, uses the border patrol to act as the inverse. It's almost like Fahrenheit 451. The firemen don't put the fires out, they make the fires. My fear is it only takes 5 guys with weapons to go down there and say, if you won't do it, we will. We have the law on our side.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, when you have a situation where you don't know what the law is,
But we do.
and there is no, well, there's no, like, when you don't have a legitimate Supreme Court, this is how countries fall apart.
Yeah.
This is what happens in
He's
what
right.
happens in Brazil and Argentina
He's
and
right.
these places. Like, this is not, you're not immune to this.
Well, let me-
right? Just because you're super rich.
I definitely want
Like-
to talk about the courts too.
You're
but
right.
real
And we're
quick on
not
this
super
point,
rich. We're borrowing money.
We know what the laws are.
No, we don't.
If you want to come to this country, you file the paperwork, you go through a process.
No. But they're not being enforced. So you can say we know what the laws are, but everybody's having different interpretations.
If Texas is trying to uphold the law and the federal government is actively subverting the law, you are going to get people in Texas saying outright the state is illegitimate. It's breaking the law intentionally. And that's when you get people who, what happens is you get the political equivalent of God is on my side. The people,
I mean, wasn't it Abbott who had the what was the thing where they called in the militia against military exercises in Texas? It was like in 2014. What was it called?
Really?
What, the
remember.
conspiracy theory.
I don't.
Right. Like this
Well,
was a misinformation. Like and then when you pour that on,
Possibly think that.
yeah,
They're clearly corrupt. And when this begins to happen,
that's the like when you look at something like the history of Chile, like that is what happened, right? Like it's like slowly, and then people start to lose faith in other systems, and then it just becomes like my family versus your family, right? Like I mean, it becomes really on that.
That's what they're doing with a lot of people know what Ron DeSantis is doing with this in Florida passing this bill. They know it's a violation of the First Amendment. They know it's wrong, but they're already in that my family versus your family that he's talking about.
That basis.
Yep.
And
Red or blue.
And you know, I remember having a friend who came back from living in Saudi Arabia for like, he was making money there for something. And I said, what did you miss most about living in Canada? And I expecting like, you know, maple syrup or some shit, right? or something, you know, like I missed the hockey or something, right? And he said equality under the law. Right. He said, you know, if you're driving and you hit the wrong person in Saudi Arabia, even if it's not your fault, like you're done.
if you're a woman
Right.
and you get
So that's the same as the pedo argument. Their morals are, some people in society, we're open about it. America, we're kind of the same way. We do it by class, because if you can afford a better lawyer, then you get better representation. Not much different, but they are overt about it. It's different, and it's not compatible with our beliefs. If you do that Saudi Arabia system here, which kind of we have, you have to do it through class for it to be accepted. Nobody would accept, oh, if I hit this important person and they were the ones jaywalking or whatever, I'm going to jail. Nobody would accept that. But and look at it. We got found crack in the White House. We all know whose it was, basically, and nobody can do anything about it. So we actually kind of have the same thing, but we have to hide it here. That's why they have to censor and all that. Let's continue.
raped,
Yeah.
you go to jail for having sex out of marriage.
And when you like
So there it is. That's another example of the pedo example that people are bringing up. Ray Studios. It's not pedo, but Tim was saying Like the woman who got raped could go to jail, I think is what you're
And
saying.
I said, what did you miss most about living in Canada? And like, I expecting like, maple syrup or some shit, right? or something, like I missed the hockey or something,
Yeah.
right? And he said, equality under the law, right? He said, if you're driving and you hit the wrong person in Saudi Arabia, even if it's not your fault, like
Yep.
you're done.
If you're a woman
Right.
and you get raped,
Yeah,
you go to jail for having sex out of marriage.
And when
So if you don't believe in moral relativity, do you think we should bomb Saudi Arabia? What does that mean? Does that mean we have to be aggressive to them? Of course not. We agree that your morals, you have your beliefs, stay the hell away, or we might still trade with you and stuff, of course, but just you are you and we are us. And you got to be careful when traveling, thinking about that kind of stuff too, to foreign countries.
you like the ultimate luxury, the ultimate heritage that we have been passed down by our forefathers and foremothers is equality under the law. When that is gone, you are just in anarchy.
So 2020 isn't the first, but I believe it was a gigantic spike through the heart of this nation in terms of how the courts handled the election.
Well, I mean, there was many spikes.
For sure,
you could
but
say that was one of them, I guess.
not one of them. So you have all of the lawsuits filed by the Trump campaign
Yeah.
and Trump campaign allies. You get the media lying about what happened, and many of the courts ruling on standing, not merit. It doesn't matter if you think Trump is right or wrong. The rulings need to be on merit, not standing. And the standing argument is a cop-out, so the courts don't have to take responsibility. This was a big problem. With the case of Texas v. Pennsylvania, are you familiar with this one?
Talked about
Which
it a
one is
million
that one?
times.
This is 48 states.
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
Suing over whether or not states were in violation of the Constitution in how they handled their elections.
Yeah.
Because
Their own constitution.
their own constitutions.
Oh, yes,
The argument
right.
being courts and executive branches all
Well, it was their own constitutions violating the actual Constitution. So it wasn't just the state, like Pennsylvania's state constitution. They're saying that them not abiding by their state constitution violated the actual Constitution. That's very important because otherwise you have no case there, really.
altered the rules of an election in a state where the Constitution says only the state legislature can do this.
Yeah.
The argument from Texas being if Pennsylvania's election is not sound, then their votes should not count against ours. There's a dispute here that needs to be answered.
I mean, this is the end of.
The Supreme Court said we don't care and
Right.
refused to hear a
Well-
which,
And at the time when that happened, on the day we found out, I said, "This is when it's over." And remember, that was after the Black Lives Matter riots and all that. They were probably worried about riots. They didn't want to hear the case because if it really was to something where you had to rule in favor of Trump, they thought the country would be over. So they just kicked the can. The country's over. They just kicked the can down the road. But I think he's going to talk about the Constitution in a second here. Like he's going to ask the question, if you wipe, and I asked this question during the pandemic, I think, if you erase the Constitution, just erase everything, there's no Constitution anymore, what could we do as 50 states to put together a Constitution, our own new Constitution? Could we even do it?
And
what's
the
called original jurisdiction, state versus state saying, answer this constitutional question so we know. And the Supreme Court said no.
And the reason they didn't is because they were afraid of having to find in Donald Trump's favor.
Or against him.
Or against him.
They did not want to, they didn't want to answer the question at all. They could have taken the case and said, Trump's wrong. But only Thomas and Alito said, we have to hear this. It's this is the rules of this country. And everyone else said, we don't want to be involved in this.
But I mean, I think the problem here is that those rules are just being eroded, right? And the faith in those rules is just being eroded.
I
just like it's not like
it's being lawyered to the most digital
but it's
granular.
not just a question of like lawyering is not the problem. The problem here is that the system is from 18th century.
That's not the
Like,
problem.
and it's not.
I
and
agree.
So they're going to get it into here. That's not the problem. The system that's in place, they're going to talk about it. We can amend it. They didn't put the system in place and say it had to be static throughout. The system that we had from the 18th century has built into it the ability to adapt. It's not the system's fault if it doesn't adapt. It's our fault.
and it's like it's not like this is the thing.
But
It's easy to get angry, and it's easy to get like you did this and you did that. But like actually the problem here is that these systems mean that no one feels like they're
It's not the system why nobody feels like they're heard. It's because we no longer share morals. What's happening to Donald Trump is wrong. That's opinion, but we need to be close enough together to all agree that it is wrong, and we don't. That's the problem. That has nothing to do with the Constitution. That's our culture.
voice is heard politically.
Yeah.
So
Right? Like conservatives keep sending Republicans to Washington to change it, and it doesn't ever change. And then they get really angry and they blame. But it's like the lesson here is that no one is actually having influence. I mean, this is what like Andrew explained. He betrayed his political class. He told me the truth of how it works. And when you look at the influences, you look at the incentives for people, there's just no incentive to actually listen to the public.
Right. I want to clarify too as to what at least my view is, and then I don't know if you agree or not, but
Yeah.
the Constitution, as you mentioned earlier, a work of genius, but 18th century genius, and I think that's correct. The core ideas of why we did it and the ideas behind it are correct, but we have way more people now. We have tremendously different systems of communication. And so
Let me ask you a question.
just the final
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
is it doesn't mean I'm not saying the Constitution is wrong or anything. I'm just saying the perspective of it is rooted in it doesn't take into consideration a lot of things that are different today. And I don't know how you rectify that.
Well, this is my question
Amendments,
for you.
perhaps.
What America is starting again. America has a constitutional convention. They get together. What is the Constitution that they make look like to you?
So
what are the
Let's bring it back. Tim, it looked like Tim had never even thought about this. He wasn't ready to answer it. I've been thought about this. It's interesting. And it's more of a libertarian question, I think. But listen to this one more time.
It doesn't take into consideration a lot of things that are different today. And I don't know how you rectify that.
Well, this is my question
Amendments,
for you.
perhaps.
What America is starting again. America has a constitutional convention. They get together. What is the Constitution that they make look like to you?
So
what are the principles that actually unify the United States?
We're going to need to listen to that a couple times. That is the problem right there. Number one, if we got together, we wouldn't get together. We wouldn't. If you're in a dissident type of mindset, you're not going to agree with Gavin Newsom in California. You're not going to agree with Gretchen. I said Gretchen. I could call her that. Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. You're not going to agree with these people, and you would never even want to make a union with them. So let's think about that one more time. You wouldn't even want to make it. That's where we should start. We wouldn't want a union. So that's why we wouldn't even work together. That's why we need to decentralize.
What America is starting again. America has a constitutional convention. They get together. What is the Constitution that they make look like to you?
So I'm trying to think which states would get together. I would have to choose a place to go. It'd probably be Florida. And that's not a good place, obviously, but it'd probably be the best place. But who would be, and it's because of the people, not because of Ron DeSantis, but where would you go? Which states would be together? Georgia is a terrible, corrupt state. Ron DeSantis is really cool with Brian Kemp. I don't even know like who would be. It'd probably be Florida and Georgia would be cool. Those southern states probably. Texas would be in there. But could they even come together? I think maybe they'd be close enough to come together to something. But I don't even know if that would last because of how maybe it would last and they would just be more authoritarian on a different side.
So
what are the principles that actually unify the United States today, right now? Honestly,
Tim hasn't thought about that. I would have been like, because I talk about it a lot. There's none. That's the whole point of like talking about secession.
The fact that you're stunned by that question.
Yeah.
Anti-war is probably
No. Tim doesn't like to be stunned by a question. The guy is a living encyclopedia. But no, anti-war. What are you talking about? People are bloodthirsty. They want to see kids die in Gaza, like they're cheering almost like it's a video game when kids die, and Israel says, "Well, we might have got one Hamas," and some people don't even care about that part. Anti-war ain't what's unifying a country. That's for damn sure. It doesn't even the populist left and right, when not even the right. They're anti-war on certain things, but pro-war on others.
No foreign intervention is probably going to pull the highest.
You can keep
No.
freedom of speech, right? Like I think everyone in a
No. He's like, well, he thought you could keep freedom. No. We're seeing information right now that leftists, the pro-Biden people, they're happy with the government creating fake organizations, working with other organizations to squash free speech. They're happy with it. They're fine with it.
You don't think so, eh?
No.
Jesus,
So he's like, it's the First Amendment. You can't agree on that? Your country is so over.
How bad it is.
Well, so
you can't even agree on the First Amendment. You can't even agree on rule number 1 of the Bill of Rights.
And it's even worse than that. We all know this, and people who are in this world talking about it, all the politicians know this. That's the iceberg they know the country is going towards, and the wars are the way they're laundering the money to get rich before it hits the iceberg. That's what's happening. These politicians aren't even talking about that. Of this whole thing, this conversation they're having right here, our own politicians aren't even talking about this. Instead, they're trying to promote war, get rich off of it, and they're like, "It's over. I can't. Why am I going to talk about it? We're going to hit the iceberg."
For the past 10 years, the start of the culture war in this country was social media platforms. I'll give you the Twitter example, because this is the one I was involved in with Jack Dorsey, Joe Rogan. Twitter.
So then Tim took it off the subject there, but then that's when he brought it back later. So that's pretty tough. Buddha Cafe, they say, you are not yet libertarian, no conservative, bro. The guy's question is ridiculous. Which question is ridiculous? If we would agree on a constitution? Oh, I don't see how that's ridiculous. How would you? I would like to hear that clarification. I'm about to be out here, but let me see here. It's a great discussion, but none of this matters because in order for a state to secede, 12 out. No, Buddha. No. For secession, you don't need permission. That just happens. You just say, we're out. There is no permission. Now you need to have enough political power in a state. No state has that. It's not going to happen. It might take 20 years to get to a culture to that point, but you don't need any permission to secede from the union. It's not illegal to secede from the union. Now, we know the ramifications of that. So you want to do it as peaceful as possible. Say, hey, the big thing that breaks up with divorce and all that kind of stuff, marriage, divorce, and this is money. So you're going to have to say, well, the way that you would probably have to do it is get the state ready, say we're out, but we're going to pay this portion of the national debt. And so we're not trying to go out and get out. The debt is the big elephant in the room. That's the big elephant in the room. There's others, but that's the big one. And we're going to pay this off and we're out. So it'd be difficult because your state would have to be saving a surplus, or you would say, here's my agreement over this course of this time. Well, it's got to be peaceful. And we want it to be peaceful. We want a relationship. So we'll pay it off like an annuity or a car subscription payment over 10 years. We'll pay off the debt that we owe. There is no permission needed to secede. And there's none. You just secede. You just leave. There's no obligation for any of these states. There's no obligation for a county to be a part of a state. And so a county, that's really where you need to break it down, is at the county level. You need to leave. There's red counties in California that need to leave. There's red libertarian counties. There's red counties in Colorado that need to leave. And they've already threatened that. They haven't gone through with it, but it needs to happen. So not just states from the union, counties from the state. Okay, I'll read the next text. Let's see. So the only way for other states to vote outside the Constitution, I don't know what that means. The only way is for the other states to vote outside the Constitution to let them go. No, 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 no. There doesn't need to be any vote. But that would require chaos to let them say, let them go. No, no, nobody has to say we can just go. I'm out. I'm not paying it anymore. See, we've lost. Our founding fathers are rolling over in their graves right now. I mean, Eric July has, I'm not going to get it now. I got to get some sleep. But Eric July has a great, amazing clip where he talked about the founding fathers, and he's like, I'm not like you guys that reveres these founding fathers, but if you do, these motherfuckers, they rose up over like tea, the price of tea increasing by pennies. y'all ain't with that life. So I want it to be peaceful, but you take the stance like we out. It's not a debate. The Supreme Court didn't hear the case. We're out. I said that's what the state should have done. When New York arrested Donald Trump, if Ron DeSantis was a real governor, he would have said, drop those charges or we're leaving the union. That's how significant that was. And at that moment, you knew he was in on it or he's just not a good leader. Reimagine the Constitution. I don't reimagine the Constitution. I'd like to keep it the same and secede with people who'd like to keep it the same. Conservatives will never let the Constitution be reimagined. That's the whole point of secession. The point of secession is not to change the Constitution, is to basically keep it and live up to it. The other, California would not keep the Constitution we have now. The territories that I would want to live in would keep it in its original thought and then amend it as needed. California is the one that wants to live, the Constitution is a living thing, and we want to reimagine it. That's a hypothetical question to Tim, will it ever happen? So I ask. Well, it's because it tells you where we are. I think you're talking about the question about what if you start with a clean slate? If you look at the hypothetical question of if you start with a clean slate and there's nothing we would agree on, we don't even agree on what a man or a woman is, then what that means is we shouldn't have a country. So that's the purpose of asking the question. It proves that we shouldn't have a union. So the only way is for other states to vote outside the Constitution is to say let them go. That's not true at all. There's nothing in the Constitution about secession because the founding fathers knew they seceded from Britain. They knew that's the thing. That's the thing. The government does not own my life, my territory. If this union doesn't work, see, they don't talk about that. That would be something to talk about more importantly than Marxism, socialism, communism are bad. It's more like, wait a second, what is our civics? What is our union about? What has to happen? What has to be here? We don't have to be in that. And that's anti-communist. That's a real anti-communist stance. Not this, communism's bad, all these people got killed. That's some old non-thinking type stuff. I know you have to crash. I do too. Thank you for reading my post, bro. Much love from over here. Compton's in the house. Thank you. Yeah, great discussion, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, I'm going to be out on that note. Try to get some sleep. Because I slept. I actually was going to go live earlier, so that's why I was late at 11:45. I had coffee and then fell asleep. I think the coffee makes me fall asleep now at night, man. It's so lame. I'm out. You've heard another. Well, let me give you the Discord just in case anybody's in the chat. The Discord is where we're having good discussion and good curation of stories. If you want to holla on there, I'm kind of in the Discord. I have to go on Twitter to just increase my reach, and Twitter's way better than YouTube or Rumble to increase my reach. But Discord is my second place to be. Appreciate you. Yeah, more Thomas videos. I gotta read more Thomas Sowell books, but yeah, I can listen because videos are like podcasts that will help. Yeah, that is a blind spot. I didn't even know who he was until Eric July, I think, saw the poster in the background. And Eric July talks about him, and then others like Gothics, I think, and A lot of people, talk about him. So I kind of know his vibe. I read one of his books, but I'm not. That is a blind spot. So yeah, I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna be out. Get some sleep.